You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1696 1696 Chapter 383 Communication Across Time and Space 3. Now, 50 sets were almost done casting. And this time, the amount of heaven and earth mystic light provided to him was actually a lot. All the way until daybreak, Su Yu's body rumbled once again. The mystic light had been completely exhausted, and Su Yu still used up a lot of heaven yuan qi before completing the 22nd casting. Su Yu's body shook, and even the ancient house trembled slightly. The 22nd casting of the body meant that the strength of the body was close to 15,000 apertures. In a true sense, it had reached the strength of a mountain sea realm body. Powerful. Only this feeling was very powerful. Of course, compared to the middle stage of mountain sea realm, it was still a little inferior. It was a little stronger than the average mountain sea realm, but against the demonic mountain sea realm, it was still inferior. With the addition of the yang aperture and the enhancement of the divine text, it was close to the strength of 20,000 apertures. Su Yu opened his eyes, and the divine light in his eyes erupted. Very quickly, he returned to normal. 22 cast. He was somewhat happy, but more than that, he was filled with emotion. The heavenly battlefield was indeed a good place. After casting his body 8 times, he had left the Great Ming Mansion. Now, in 2 months, he had already reached 22 cast and completed 14 cast. As expected, if he didn't step out of the human realm, he would never be able to improve so quickly. Qin Fang and the others' strength in the human realm was average, but they quickly entered the heaven hunting list. In the past, they thought that their cultivation would be faster in the later stages, but now they realized that their cultivation in the human realm was too slow. After the joy, there was melancholy. What next? Kill Dao Qing. The ancient city must have become the focus of attention. Perhaps a large number of experts would arrive soon. He might have to leave, but would it be so easy to leave? The ancient city had been sealed. In addition, Dao Qing hadn't been killed yet, and Min Tian and the others hadn't been killed yet. Since he had started a killing spree, wouldn't he be letting himself down by killing them all? Also, had the sun and moon undead spirit outside left? He kept feeling that this undead spirit seemed to be different when it arrived at the sun and moon. It seemed to have some intelligence. Previously, when he had killed Dao Qing, the undead spirit had been staring at him, and its reaction wasn't quite the same as the other undead spirits. First, if there's a chance, I'll kill a few more people. Second, I'll leave the ancient city. Third, I'll hide my identity. Su Yu had always thought of saving himself. He didn't expect others to save him. Everything depended on himself. As he thought, he felt his storage ring vibrate. A moment later, he took out a list. You're Su Yu. At this moment, a line of words appeared on the list. In the heaven hunting pavilion. The masked man was stupefied as he looked at the faceless elder. Zhou Xian's list should be in Su Yu's hands, but now, this list is not together with the previous list. The position is different. Elder. Then who is the one we have been chatting with? The heaven hunting pavilion's list only had a positioning function. Of course, they knew who had obtained the list. For example, Zhou Xian's list was most likely in Su Yu's hands. Just look at the battle results. Under normal circumstances, the heaven hunting pavilion did not care too much about who had taken the list, but generally, they knew who had it. But now, they had to care. Since Zhou Xian's list was in Su Yu's hands, then who had the list that belonged to Su Yu before? Who had been using Su Yu's list to communicate with them? The faceless elder was silent for a moment. The heaven hunting list can also roughly determine the information of the person holding the list. Since Su Yu's list isn't in his hands, then there's a high probability that it's not in the hands of the person on the list. As for who took it, that's something Su Yu will have to ask. So that was the case. Su Yu had left long ago. At this moment, the heaven-hunting pavilion finally had an answer. The matter of the undead was indeed done by Su Yu. At this moment, a line of words appeared in front of the masked man. Provide me with a way to leave the city. The masked man looked at the elder. The faceless elder thought for a moment and said, he wants to escape. Tell him that there's nothing we can do now. The 3 sun and moon undead are still in the city. If they haven't left, our people won't be able to leave either. We can only wait. If he can't wait, we can go to the city lord's mansion to take a look. No charge. We won't charge him this time because we can't help him solve this problem for the time being. The faceless elder said, then he said, this guy is just a bomb. Wherever he goes, he will explode. With him around, it's actually a good thing. I can't wait for him to be alive. If he is alive, the rankings will change rapidly, and geniuses will continue to rise. Do you understand the catfish effect? I don't. Then forget it. If this guy is alive, it won't do any harm to the heaven-hunting pavilion. I understand. The masked man quickly communicated with Su Yu. At this moment, another information that originally belonged to Su Yu was also transmitted. The masked man glanced at it and cursed in his heart. Let's chat. There seems to be something outside that wants to come in and eat me. Should I run? The masked man was furious. Who the hell are you? Su Yu has already made another deal with us. You're not Su Yu, you bastard. How dare you lie to me? Ah. In the ancient house, little Harry Ball was stunned. He had been discovered. The fragrant one was too unprofessional. I wasn't even exposed, yet you were exposed. At this moment, there seemed to be the sound of a door opening outside the door. Little Harry Ball's eyes widened. Forget it, there was no time to chat with the heaven-hunting pavilion. The heaven-hunting pavilion was all idiots. There was no way to solve the problem. He looked at the door with his big eyes. It seemed like the door was really about to open. Through the door, little Harry Ball felt a powerful pressure and a death crisis. It seemed to be in danger. His eyes kept turning. Where could he run to? As for the dense death aura in the room, little Harry Ball did not pay much attention to it. Death aura was also a kind of Yuan Qi. Yuan Qi that was reversed by Yuan Qi was not afraid of Yuan Qi, so it was naturally not afraid of death aura. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1697. 1697 Chapter 383 Communication Across Time and Space 4. After transforming into a divine text, it wasn't too afraid of these things. But now, there seemed to be even more powerful ones coming from outside. What should I do? The little furball was quite anxious. I didn't want to die. I wanted to ask for Xiangxiang's help, but I was unable to contact her. I could only quickly contact Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Help, find Su Yu to save me. I'll pay. The little hairy ball did not call out Xiangxiang, but Xiangxiang did not allow him to call him Xiangxiang. Moreover, even if he did, the other party would not recognize him. He had to call for help. He had to call the Heaven Hunting Pavilion for help. As he called for help, the little hairy ball called out, "Big help, big help. I'm going to die." At this moment, in an ancient world, on a huge heaven origin tree, a big hairy ball seemed to be in deep thought. Suddenly, a small bubble appeared in front of it. The big hairy ball opened its eyes. What was it thinking? That's right, it was wondering if it should go to the human realm to fetch the little fellow. It suddenly froze. The little fellow isn't at the human realm anymore. It looked at the scene in front of it again. Where is this? The big hairy ball blinked its eyes and made a judgment. It seemed to have seen the aura of death. Sacred city. Muttering, how did the little fellow end up there? Which saint city was this? Was he asking for help? Saint city. Saint city, what was it? As he thought about it, his thoughts started to run wild. Soon, more and more bubbles appeared in front of him. Big hairy ball woke up once more. What was he thinking about just now? That's right, he was thinking about the saint city. The little fellow was in the saint city. It was so far away. Big hairy ball thought for a moment. Suddenly, the time around him reversed. It was as if he had returned to the past. Time kept on reversing, and time kept on reversing. It had reversed to a certain day. Big hairy ball appeared on top of an ancient city. It's not this one. Big hairy ball continued to reverse time. Little hairy ball was not here. It was not this one. It remembered that it should have been there before. It continued to reverse the situation. Soon, an ancient city appeared once again. Heaven destruction. This is it, right? Big hairy ball muttered and suddenly flew into the city. At this moment, the ancient city was still quite prosperous. Big hairy ball suddenly flew towards the back hall of the city lord's mansion. A moment later, it flew to the back hall of the city lord's mansion. Stone sculpture. At this moment, the stone sculpture was there. The stone sculpture suddenly opened its eyes and looked at Big Hairy Ball. Big Hairy Ball was also looking at him. After exchanging a glance, the stone sculpture asked, "Demigod Devourer, what do you want from me?" Big Hairy Ball thought for a moment. Forget it. You are all the same. If you don't know me, what do I want to do? Let me think. Big Hairy Ball thought for a long time before it suddenly remembered something. My young man want to come to you after a long time. Then, something wants to kill it. You save it. I don't want to go out. N. The stone sculpture opened its eyes and looked at Hairy Ball. Half-Emperor devouring God transcended space and time just for this? That's right. The stone sculpture was silent. It suddenly closed its eyes and didn't say anything else. Hong long. The scene shattered, and time reversed once more. At the same time. In the city lord's residence, the stone sculpture suddenly opened its eyes again. It looked in a certain direction with a strange expression, and an ancient memory appeared in its mind. It was somewhat speechless. F***ck. That ancient god-devouring clan member must have gone crazy. F***ck, he had nothing to do. He crossed space and time for hundreds of years just to inform me that your little fellow was in danger. Its gaze fell on a certain place, and in the next moment, a divine light burst out from its eyes. With a rumble, a divine light covered the door. The three dead souls who were breaking the door suddenly stopped and turned back to look at the city lord's mansion. A moment later, the three dead souls chose to leave. The stone sculpture looked at the house again. It was as if he had seen through the ancient house and little Hairy Ball. Wasn't this the ancient race that Suyu had brought? The bloodline of the devouring god semi-emperor? It was true. There were too few members of the devouring god ancient race. He didn't expect that this old semi-emperor would grow old and still have a bloodline. He thought that it was the bloodline of the other devouring god ancient race. The stone sculpture closed his eyes again. It was very annoying. These fellows were really troublesome. The half-emperor devouring god was probably really old. He felt that his memory was declining. He had been staying in the ancient god-devouring realm for a long time. Could it be that he couldn't leave or that he didn't want to leave? The stone sculpture thought to himself and ignored it. These troublesome matters should be resolved as soon as possible. He was very vexed right now. What were these bastards doing here? He was petrified, and they were still making him worry. A rescue that transcended time was completed just like that. No one knew. Only little Hairy Ball did not feel any danger and continued to harass the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion could not wait for this guy with the Suyu list to be beaten to death. How annoying. At this moment, Suyu also received a message from the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. He was a little surprised, and only then did he remember little Hairy Ball. Was he in danger? He had a few more thoughts. In this place, even the sound transmission talisman was unable to transmit messages due to the aura of death. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion was actually able to transmit messages. No wonder the Heaven Hunting Pavilion had such a powerful intelligence system. Outsiders might not know about the matters of the ancient city. However, the Heaven Hunting Pavilion probably received the message at the first moment. Are we going out? Suyu was a little worried. If he went out, would he encounter some trouble if he met the 3 sun and moon undead spirits? Forget it, let's go out and take a look. If he stayed here all this time, he would just be sitting there waiting for death. When the experts of the 10,000 clans arrived, he wouldn't be able to leave even if he wanted to. As for the list, Dao Cheng had killed someone at the 6th level of the mountain and sea realm. Suyu had already guessed who he had killed. With the silver armor dead, Dao Cheng might be able to break through the mountains and seas. He didn't care too much about it, so he just killed him. It just so happened that he had killed all the Black Armor clan members here, making them go against him. 1 sun and moon, 6 mountains and seas, and 2 geniuses had died. They probably wanted to cry. The Black Armor world might not be as powerful as the Great Xia Manor. It was very normal. The human race was not weak to begin with, and the Great Xia Manor was one of the strongest manors. The Great Xia Manor probably felt the pain of losing 1 sun, moon, and 6 mountains and seas. Last time, Suyu had ambushed and killed those fellows from the single divine language department. The Great Xia Manor had still suffered some injuries. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1698. 1698 Chapter 383 Communication Across Time and Space 5. It was to make the Black Armor clan's heart ache. I'll let you all die even more next time. Suyu took a deep breath and consumed a large amount of Heaven Origin Qi to recover all the injuries left by the Death Qi in his body. Soon, he reversed his origin aperture again and the Death Qi overflowed. He had to get out. As for the list, he did not bring it with him and left it on the spot. He had also searched everyone's storage rings and did not see any other lists. Only then did he feel at ease. He did not want to be monitored by the Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Let's go out and take a look. The door opened. There was no sound. The entire ancient city seemed to be completely silent. Suyu turned into a dead spirit and walked out of the door. At this moment, there were a few scattered dead spirits on the streets. There were very few of them. Too many had been killed before. It was good that there were more, but he was afraid that there would be none left. That would be awkward. Suyu walked out of the house, and was slightly stunned. F***ck. At this moment, there were many ancient city tokens on the ground. So many. This thing could also be considered one of the fortuitous encounters of the ancient city. Suyu walked out and picked up a few. Of course, their levels weren't high. His heart moved, and he quickly walked toward the core where Zhou Xian and the others had killed the dead spirits. There were many dead spirits of the mountains and seas there, so Suyu didn't know what the ancient city tokens were for. The only thing he knew was that they could be used as money. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion had taken this item before. The dead spirits were gone, and they had all melted, but the ancient city tokens were still there. Suyu quickly traveled around. Not only him, but there were also some dead spirits who were collecting ancient city tokens. He didn't know if they were going to be recycled. Suyu didn't care. He also quickly picked up some ancient city tokens. Regardless of their level, he took them all. Soon, Suyu picked up a few ancient city tokens that felt very powerful. They were branded with the appearance of an ancient city. One of the ancient city tokens even lit up on the 16th ring. This represented the ancient city tokens within the 16th ring. As for the others, there were 18 ring and 20 ring. Suyu quickly searched. In the blink of an eye, he picked up almost 100 ancient city tokens. He searched again, but there were very few of them left. They had all been taken away by the dead souls. Suyu looked around the city again, but there was no sound. Only the dead souls were moving. He didn't see anyone, and it seemed that they didn't dare to come out. As for the 3 sun and moon dead souls, he didn't see them either. Suyu didn't care about this anymore, and quickly ran to the house he had been in before. Soon, he saw that house. There were no undead. Suyu cursed inwardly. Did little Hairy Ball deliberately deceive the heaven-hunting pavilion? Where did the danger come from? He spoke as if he was going to die. He had caused him to run out now. All right, if he had been a little later, he might not have been able to pick up so many ancient city tokens. Knock. After a while, a voice came from the door. Who is it? Me. Password. F***CK. When did I leave a password? Do you think I'm a liar? Suyu was speechless and quickly said, hurry up, or there won't be anything for you to eat. Correct. Little Hairy Ball opened the door. That's right, it's you. Only you know that I like to eat. The door opened, and outside, the divine light that was originally attached to the stone sculpture dissipated. Suyu and Little Hairy Ball did not notice that Little Hairy Ball instantly drilled into Suyu's sea of consciousness. He said in fear, it's fragrant. There was a big bad guy knocking on the door just now. I was scared to death. Nonsense. Suyu did not believe it at all. Unless it was a small undead, this place was only at the 18th circle. The sun and moon undead could soon open the door. How could they wait for you to cry out in fear? Really? Okay, really. Suyu gave a perfunctory reply. He was too lazy to say anything more. He quickly closed the door. He wanted to leave this place. Everyone knew that he was staying here. If he did not leave, the others would come out. What if they saw him? The Little Hairy Ball merged into the Sea of Will, and Suyu transformed into an undead. At this moment, he quickly flew toward the inner area. The living people were probably all in the inner area. Even if they were in the inner area, these living people wouldn't be able to withstand the strong aura of death in the house. Sooner or later, they would come out. He wanted to see if he could block the door and kill a few of them. If he couldn't, it didn't matter. At this point, no one would dare to stop him. He had to find an opportunity to leave the city as soon as possible. If he didn't leave the city, he would be stuck in the city. That would be troublesome. If the city gates weren't closed, Suyu would have run away long ago. As for Dao Cheng and the others, they could just leave them here. There was no hurry to kill someone. Leaving this place and saving his life was the key. Suyu continued to move forward. Soon, he saw the magnificent city lord's mansion. By the roadside, there seemed to be some movement in a big house. Suyu was slightly startled. I'm going to the city lord's mansion, and there's still someone who wants to die. Then I'll be disrespectful. Raise your blade, face the door, and when you come out, I'll give you a stab. Forget it, look carefully before you stab. Don't kill Qin Fong with one stab, that human race won't be able to survive. The door opened, and a huge bull appeared. Its body was badly corroded by the aura of death. It had just popped out. Whine. A slash tore through the air. With a poochie sound, the bull's head exploded. Suyu quickly put away the corpse, and was a little surprised. A mountain-breaking bull at the second level of the mountain and sea realm? My luck is pretty good. I really like your clan. Su didn't bother with it anymore. After taking away the corpse, he quickly walked toward the city lord's mansion. Although there was a city lord at the 9th level of the sun and moon realm here, and it was also very dangerous, he had to think of a way. If he stayed any longer, Su would be afraid that the sun and moon would surround him. Soon, he arrived at the city lord's mansion. In the main hall behind the mansion, the stone statue opened its eyes again. It was very tired. I'm already a stone. Give me some peace and quiet. The human race and the ancient god-devouring race both had some small problems. Get lost as soon as possible. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1699. 1699 Chapter 384 Your brows are a little tight, last day's monthly 1. The city lord's mansion. It was very grand and tall. However, the city gates were tightly shut at this moment. There was no way to enter. Near the city lord's mansion, a lot of the aura of death had dissipated. Su actually saw a living person, yes, a living person. Around the city lord's mansion's wall, there was a cave entrance. It did not look big, but at this moment, there was actually someone inside. He did not know what he was thinking, or he felt that this place was safer than the ancient house. There was actually a living creature hiding in the hole that could be a dog hole. And it really didn't die. It was probably safer than the creature hiding in the ancient house. Su was also speechless. At the same time, the creature in the dog hole looked at Su and was also speechless. There was actually a weak undead wandering here. 2 people, no, 1 person and 1 earth. They even knew each other. The one hiding in the dog hole was the floating earth spirit. This guy was really bold. The ancient city restricted earth movement, but it actually dared to come here. Even Su admired it, and it wasn't dead yet. This luck was truly unique. Sometimes, luck was very important. The floating earth spirit wasn't dead. At this time, it probably felt a little uncomfortable being looked at by the undead. It turned into a pile of soil and piled up in the dog hole. A pile, it looked like something that had been pulled out. Su glanced at it and walked towards it. I'll just chop it up. This fellow had met me a few times, but it didn't die. I have to admit that its luck was very strong. Su hadn't even killed it when he was traveling alone with it. In terms of luck, it was much stronger than Jiu Xian and the others. As for the floating earth spirit, when it saw the undead walking towards it, even the soil changed color. What was going on? The undead didn't come near the city lord's mansion. Of course, it didn't realize that the sun and moon dead spirits had actually come out from the city lord's mansion. It only knew that it was quite safe here. Not long ago, a few fellows who were hiding in the ancient house all let out miserable cries. They were probably dead. And it had always been safe. But now, it didn't seem so safe anymore. It wasn't afraid of the dead spirits flying in the sky. The key was that these things were endless. If they killed 1, then 2 would come. There were still the sun and moon undead in the city. If they really lured the sun and moon undead here, it would be useless even if it was the sun and moon. Don't come. Don't look for me. I'm just a pile of soil. Seeing that the undead was getting closer and closer, the floating earth spirit turned pale with fright. Even the soil changed color. In the next moment, without waiting for Su to come over, it turned into a speck of dust and instantly fled. It did not even care about the corrosion of the death aura. Damn it, it actually came to look for me. How terrifying. The floating earth spirit's speed of escape was extremely fast. Su took a glance. A smile appeared on the undead spirit's face, and it didn't chase after him anymore. It had encountered him 3 times, but it hadn't died. Its ability to sense danger was very strong. Suyu had actually activated the static divine text. Logically speaking, this fellow could have tried to stay still. It seemed that he was just a floating undead spirit, but in the end, this fellow still escaped. Clearly, it had sensed danger. Suyu did not bother with it anymore and walked towards the city gates. The city gates were tightly shut. How do I enter? Or rather, how do I find the city lord? That's not right. How do I get the city lord to open the gates? Suyu fell into deep thought. He was not going to open the gates, but the 9 gates. He was going to leave as soon as possible. This place was a place of death. A mighty figure at the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm. If he didn't leave and insisted on killing him, wouldn't he be finished? He didn't have the capital to fight against a 9th level Sun-Moon expert. Actually, it was very dangerous to come to the city lord's residence. Moreover, it was best if the city lord didn't know that the city lord was in the state of an undead spirit. He would first use the state of an undead spirit to conceal himself and investigate the situation before deciding how to discuss it with the city lord of Sky River. A fox uses the tiger's might to pull a tiger's skin. At the very least, he needs to be invincible in order to intimidate him. This person has also been struck by Xiaolongwu. He might even be hostile towards the human race. Only invincible can intimidate him, so that he won't attack me. Invincible. Suyu did not know many invincible people. Of course, it was not that he did not know any of them. At the very least, he had some contact with the king of silkworm extermination. He could be considered a member of the Daming Manor now and had some contact with the Daming King. The Great Qin King might have also discovered that he had come to the heavenly battlefield. The Great Xia King could be considered to have some connections, and there was also the Tianzhu King. Including the Great Han King and the Great Song King he had met the last time. When he thought about it, he actually knew quite a few invincible ones. However, Suyu himself couldn't find anyone who was truly reliable and could help him. It's better to beg for help than to beg for help. He repeated this sentence in his heart again, feeling a little helpless and dejected. If he could seek invincibility, he would naturally seek it. More importantly, he was unable to do so. Thus, it was better to seek help from oneself than from others. Most of the time, these were just words to comfort oneself. It was a pity that my teacher was not invincible, and my grand teacher was not invincible. Otherwise, he would be able to seek help from others. Of course, there was no need to seek help now. All he needed to do was to pull the tiger's skin. How could he intimidate the city lord so that he would not harm him? It would be very difficult. He was now the most sought-after person in the world. Other than the humans, there were probably many humans who wanted to kill him. Suyu knew his situation. As such, he rarely had any friends. On the heavenly battlefield, he could kill anyone he wasn't familiar with. This was his philosophy. Anyway, Suyu, don't have any friends. Most of the people who helped me were not on the heavenly battlefield. Even when the human Qin was in the city, Suyu did not think of asking him for help, even if this person was a descendant of the great Qin king. Suyu circled around the city wall and quietly walked around. He did not know that the stone statue in the city lord's manor had been silently watching him. Suyu did not care about this. He also did not know about this. After wandering around for a while, he found an ancient house not far from here and drilled into it. Very quickly, he converted the aura of death, reversed the origin aperture, and transformed into himself. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1700. 1700 Chapter 384 Your brows are a little tight, last day's monthly too. He rummaged through his storage ring and found a few things. One was a token that Zhu Tiandao of Daming Manor had given him. He said that he could use it if he met the Daming King. The other was a toy knife that Xia Huyo had given him. He said that he could take it out if he met the great Xia king and see if he could get some benefits. The Emperor of Great Ming, the Emperor of Great Xia. There seemed to be only these two things on his body that were related to invincibility. No, he grabbed the little hairy ball and looked at it, deep in thought. This was actually also related to invincibility. The big hairy ball was also invincible, so the half-emperor must be invincible. In that case, he could actually be related to these three invincibility. Of course, it was fine if the little fur ball was big, but if it really attracted him, he might be able to devour his own sea of consciousness in one bite. Three unrivaled beings. Could he intimidate the city lord? Thinking of the city lord's mansion in the distance, he might be like a sheep entering the tiger's mouth if he went there. Sigh. He sighed. Why don't I kill him to his heart's content first, and then go to the city lord's mansion to try it out? Suyu hesitated and struggled. The stone sculpture in the city lord's mansion was also thinking about a question that he had ignored just now. Why did this human guy turn into a dead spirit? F***ck. He didn't remember this question before. As for why he recognized Suyu, it was too simple. No matter how hard he tried, he could sense it. Moreover, the little guy from the god-devouring clan was also there. He knew it was Suyu and little hairy ball at first glance. But now, he was also looking at the house. He saw through the house and saw the sudden reversal of Suyu's situation. He fell into deep thought. What was happening? The reversal of death aura? Was it the uniqueness of the divine text, or did this kid have some amazing skill that allowed him to disguise as a dead spirit? No wonder he didn't die. However, he was still a little short. He could hide it from the ordinary sun and moon, but he couldn't hide it from the stronger sun and moon. The power in his heart was naturally the sun and moon that were about to walk on the path of enlightenment. It's already very impressive. The stone sculpture thought. He continued to think. However, he still couldn't understand how this little fellow could transform into an undead. Was it caused by a cultivation technique? Did he learn the cultivation technique of the undead race? However, the cultivation technique of the undead race could only be learned after death. Was this little fellow dead? At this moment, the stone sculpture that existed since ancient times was a little puzzled. Cultivation technique, or is it something else? He couldn't understand it. Seeing the stone sculpture taking out items one after another in the ancient house, the stone sculpture could sense the aura of powerful existences as well. It seemed like this fellow had come into contact with quite a few experts. He could sense a familiar scent. The scent of a few top-tier experts of the human race. After taking a stroll around the city lord's manor, he left and took out these items. Was he afraid that the heavenly river would kill him? The stone sculpture roughly understood what he meant. He wanted to laugh. Forget it, the stone couldn't laugh. He knew that Tianhe was in cahoots with Xiaolongwu. Why would he kill this little guy? However, this little guy didn't know about this situation. The stone sculpture also wanted to see how this little guy would ensure that Tianhe wouldn't kill him. The stone sculpture was waiting to watch the show. Suyu was conflicted for a moment and felt somewhat vexed. Why don't I hire a top-tier expert to protect him? But if he is not invincible, even if he is at the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm, he would not be able to deal with the city lord here, right? After struggling for a long time, Suyu gritted his teeth. He still had to go and see the city lord. In the city lord was the biggest. If he did not go and meet him, he might not be able to leave the city. Since the experts of the 10,000 races weren't here, he had to leave as soon as possible. A moment later, Suyu recovered his physical body and walked out of the ancient house. He waited in front of the house for a while, but no undead came to kill him. It seemed that the undead might have left. Forget it. He could switch to the undead mode at any time. He quickly walked to the front of the city lord's mansion. Suyu suddenly said in a clear voice, Great Xia Emperor's great-grandson, Great Ming Emperor's great-grandson, Silkworm Exterminating King's disciple, Tianzhu King's in-name disciple, human Suyu, requests to meet the city lord. His voice was very loud and resounded through the sky. At this moment, some of the ancient houses in the surroundings wanted to open, but they didn't. The city lord's manor also fell silent for a moment. The experts hiding in the ancient houses all froze. This. Suyu was going to pay a visit to the city lord? Well, that wasn't the point. The point was that this guy's prefix was a little scary. The four kings had been pulled out by him. Since when were you the god-grandson of the great Xia king and the great Ming king? Since when were you the disciple of the king of Silkworm Extermination and the king of Tianzhu? As for Suyu, he felt that he wasn't lying. He had told Xia Huyo that his grandfather was my grandfather, and that his great-grandfather was also mine. He had also said something similar to Zhu Hongliang of the Great Ming Mansion. Zhu Tiandao was even prepared to take him in as a grandson-in-law. In fact, there was no difference. As for the Silkworm King, time was proof. As for the Heavenly Caste King, the 100 Dao Pavilion was his inheritance, and the weapon forging system was his. He didn't lie, and even if he said that in front of them, there wouldn't be any problem. The four kings should at least give him some face, right? At this moment, in an ancient house, Qin Fang rubbed his chin and looked outside. He couldn't help but laugh and wanted to shake his head. Forget it, I won't shake it anymore. Suyu, interesting. In the city lord's manor. Tianhe, who was still drinking, paused for a moment. He put down his wine glass and smiled. Go open the door. Sir. The old man appeared. Sir, Suyu's involvement is too big. Why don't we just disappear? Go open the door. Tianhe smiled faintly and said, interesting, let him in. Is he trying to scare me with the four eternal members of the human race to scare me? Interesting. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1701. 1701 Chapter 384 Your eyebrows are a little tight, asking for a monthly ticket on the last day, 3. He wasn't the only one who found it interesting. The stone sculpture had opened its eyes and hadn't closed them much today. How could this be related? You're related to the four eternal realm, are you sure? With interest and playfulness, Tianhe decided to open the door and meet Suyu, who had wreaked havoc in the ancient city. Yes, at this time, he had also guessed that it was Suyu who had done this. This guy had killed so many dead souls, but he was still alive. Not to mention that he was still alive, but this guy still dared to show himself. Wasn't he afraid that the sun and moon dead souls would kill him? The few sun and moon dead souls had not disappeared. They were still in the city. However, when Suyu showed himself, these dead souls did not chase after him. Even if he had revealed his aura, the few dead souls did not chase after him. There were many factors, and one of them was the little hairy ball. The little fur ball came out of the ancient house, carrying the aura of a stone statue. Suyu did not know this, and neither did the little fur ball. Suyu was not too worried about the undead, and he was prepared to switch at any time. At this moment, he was taking a risk. As for the city lord's manor, after he shouted, the door slowly opened. Suyu actually saw someone he knew. The Mountain Sea Realm man guarding the door was the general of the Heavenly Gate. The Heavenly Gate also looked at Suyu with a strange expression. He said in a deep voice, the city lord invites you. Thank you. Suyu smiled. Since he saw me, it wasn't strange for him to see me. Just don't lay a hand on me later. He was gambling this time. After so many people heard, he had at least brought out the title of the four kings. If he really wanted to kill him, he had to consider the consequences. Although it was just a game, it could be broken with a poke. If I have to, I'll crush little hairy ball to death. Su Yu was furious. In his sea of consciousness, little hairy ball was trembling, and a clear feedback came from his will. In his sea of consciousness, a little Su Yu was holding a big hammer. It seemed like he was ready to kill it at any time. I'm going to kill the ball. Little hairy ball lay on top of a divine text and licked it. It comforted itself. Before I crush the ball, I'll eat this divine text. It's so fragrant. It was also vicious. You hammer me, I'll eat the divine runes and be a glutton. Under these two strange conditions, Su Yu walked forward and followed the mountain sea realm general of Heaven's Gate towards the city lord's hall on the steps. As he walked, he said, "Thank you for your reminder, General." "You're welcome." Heaven's Gate said indifferently, "I just didn't expect you to be the real Su Yu. I had no choice." Heaven's Gate didn't say much, but Su Yu smiled and said, "General, is the city lord easy to talk to?" Heaven's Gate said indifferently, "Not bad." "That's good. The city lord is wise and divine. I think he should be very approachable." Heaven's Gate's expression was strange. "You are the first genius I've seen who can suck up to others so shamelessly. Here, the city lord will definitely hear you, but you just had to say this, not for yourself, but for the city lord." Su Yu continued, "General Heaven's Gate, the 9 gates have been sealed. The city lord can open them, right? There are too many people who want to kill me now. If I don't open the gates, everyone will think that the city lord is protecting me. If I don't give the city lord face and attack the ancient city in a fit of anger, it'll be troublesome." Heaven's Gate was speechless. "You make so much sense. I won't refute you." Su Yu continued, "Oh right, the human race has sent a large number of experts to save me. Once a battle breaks out in the city, it will be troublesome." Heaven's Gate was silent. "What you said is right, I won't refute it. You can speak to the city lord yourself." This was a rather special genius he had met. Of course, geniuses were all very special. A moment later, the huge hall appeared in front of Su Yu. There were only 2 people in the hall. In front of the hall, the city lord on the throne and an old man below had white hair. "My lord, Su Yu has arrived." The city lord of Tianhe City held his wine cup and drank a mouthful of wine. He was dressed in white and his long hair draped over his shoulders. No one knew which race he was from, but Su Yu could feel the aura of death. The extremely dense aura of death felt no less than those sun, moon, and undead spirits. "Greetings, city lord." Su Yu bowed respectfully. The city lord of Tianhe City looked at him and drank another cup of wine. He said indifferently, "The great Xia King and the great Ming King's great-grandson?" "Yes." "The disciple of the King of Silkworm Extermination and the King of Tianzhu?" "Yes." "Then why are you still living in such a wretched state?" Su Yu said calmly, "I don't feel like I'm in a wretched state. Experts also walk up step by step. How can one rise up without experiencing hardship? Now, the speed of my rise is so fast that all the worlds are paying attention to it. I think this is also the result that the unrivaled experts want to see." "You want to leave?" Su Yu lowered his head, "Yes. If I stay, all the experts from all the races will rush over. Very soon, the heavenly extermination city will become the focus of all the worlds. Once I die in the myriad world battlefield, an unrivaled battle might erupt here." "You are very confident." Tianhe smiled faintly. "Which invincible will fight for you?" Tianhe said mercilessly, "The multi-divine language is the focus of the 10,000 races. The human race has already given up on the multi-divine language. If they don't give up, then the human race will become the enemy of the 10,000 races. Only by giving up can they retain a trace of status. You should be clear about this. Which invincible will fight for you?" Back then, Yi Batian was the hope of the human race. The invincible of the human race fought for him. In the end, he disappointed the human race and gave up hope. Do you think the human race will fight for the second Yi Badian against the 10,000 races? Su Yu said in a deep voice, I'm not Yi Badian. I'm not the second Yi Badian. I don't know if the invincible of the human race is willing to fight for me. Maybe. The City Lord knows. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1702. 1702 Chapter 384 Your brows are a little tight, asking for a monthly ticket on the last day, for. Do you know that they will not fight for me? Do you think that no one in the human race wishes for the rise of the polytheistic culture system? Yes. A lot. It's just that because of the attitude of the 10,000 races, they did not express their own attitude. Su Yu believed that there was, otherwise, the polytheistic culture system would not have existed until now. Tianhe smiled and said, perhaps, you're right. Sit down. Just as Su Yu was about to speak, a futon appeared under his butt. He cursed in his heart and did not dare to think too much. The sun and moon were very sensitive. He did not stand on ceremony and directly sat down. He raised his head and looked at the city lord of Tianhe City. He looked very young and maintained his human appearance. Other than the dense aura of death on his body, he also looked very refined. Have a drink? The city lord of Tianhe City smiled and formed a cup out of thin air. The wine in the cup floated towards Su Yu. Su Yu took the wine cup. The aura of death in the wine cup was overflowing. It was very dense. Su Yu's expression changed slightly. Tianhe said indifferently, since you dare to kill a dead spirit, you haven't died yet. You shouldn't be afraid of this bit of aura of death. Drink a cup. It tastes pretty good. This is the most famous dead spirit liquid of the dead spirit clan, brewed from corpse water, brewed from 10,000-year-old corpses. Su Yu didn't say anything. Tianhe said coldly, you dare to kill a dead spirit in the ancient city of heaven destruction, killing everyone in all directions, do you still fear this little thing? Su Yu was silent, holding the wine cup and drinking it in one gulp. The death qi corroded his internal organs. Soon, a pure life force was born. Su Yu was slightly startled, and his corroded internal organs instantly recovered. He raised his head to look at the city lord of Tianhe City. The city lord of Tianhe City said indifferently, life and death, life and death, life and death, is just a thin line between them. To live towards death, the extreme of death is rebirth. Su Yu did not understand too much, and said in a deep voice, I was ignorant, I did not understand the city lord's deep meaning. Tianhe smiled faintly and said, what deep meaning, I just said it because I felt it. You are quite brave, you even dare to drink the death spirit liquid, there are not many people who dare to drink it. Those who are ignorant are fearless. Su Yu replied. Tianhe said with a smile, no, you are not ignorant. You are fearless, fearless. You have the confidence, and you are also confident that a cup of nectar won't take your life. Tianhe smiled again and said, what is your purpose in coming to the heavenly battlefield? To strengthen yourself. What happens after you become stronger? To protect yourself. That's it. That's it. Su Yu lowered his head. Why else would I do that? Haven't you ever thought about activating the suppressive power of the human realm and conquering all the worlds? Not interested. Su Yu said calmly, those who make an enemy of me will be killed. Those who bully me will be killed. Regardless of race or kindness. That's not a good idea. Tianhe smiled faintly and said, I'm afraid there will be many who make an enemy of you. Then we'll kill until we can't kill anymore. What a great killing intent. Tianhe sighed and said, in recent years, the human race with the greatest killing intent is Xia Longwu. In front of him is Yi Badian. In front of him is the great Qin King. Other than the great Qin King, Yi Badian is dead. Xia Longwu. It's difficult to attain Tao. Do you want to learn from them? Su Yu lowered his head. I don't want to learn from anyone. I only want to be myself. If I want to kill, I will kill. If I don't want to kill, no one can force me. If they force me, I will kill them all. My murderous nature is not because I want to kill, but because I don't want to be killed. If I don't let you out, will you come to kill me when you become stronger? Su Yu continued to lower his head. No, the city lord has misunderstood. Tian, he laughed. You don't mean what you say. Tian, he said calmly, you will. If I don't let you go, if you don't die and you become stronger, you will come for revenge. I won't. You will. I won't. Besides Su Yu, the old man with the broken teeth laughed. As for Tian, he also laughed. If you won't kill me, then I won't let you go. I will. At this moment, Su Yu instantly changed his words. I hold grudges. Of course, I won't hold grudges against powerful people, but I also hold grudges. The city lord helped me today, and the next day, I will definitely repay you with gushing spring. You can repay me. Tian, he said indifferently, what right do you have? You have to kill Qingbao. What a joke. I will crush him to death with a single finger. Su Yu was silent for a while. He said, I see that your excellency has a strong aura of death. I don't know if you are deliberately cultivating this dead spirit clan's aura of death, or if you have no other choice. I have a cultivation technique that can restore vitality. It is the rarely seen art of longevity. Art of longevity? Yes. Su Yu directly threw a cultivation technique toward Tianhe. This was a method to stimulate vitality, not some art of longevity. However, it did have the effect of stimulating vitality. However, it was actually useless because the city lord was not a human. The acupoints were different. It was just for sale. What was really useful was actually the Necromancer clan's origin aperture reversal technique, which was a true treasure. This was not a cultivation technique, at least it was not an origin aperture technique. This was a reversal technique, and it had nothing to do with which origin aperture you cultivated to open. This thing was the true solution to the aura of death. Whichever origin aperture you opened, this cultivation technique could reverse which origin aperture you opened. Reverse it, it doesn't matter. Reversing it into death chi, it can also reverse death chi into life chi. This is the true trump card, and also the key to Su Yu's transformation into an undead. This thing, unless it's absolutely necessary, cannot be leaked. As for the immortal technique of the immortals, it is also very profound and powerful, but to others, it is actually worthless. It was still useful to the powerhouses of the human race, but to the Castellan, unless he was a human. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1703. 1703 Chapter 384, Your brows are a little tight, asking for a monthly ticket on the last day, 5. Otherwise, it's nothing. Su Yu didn't take it seriously, but Tianhe was a little surprised. He picked up the cultivation technique and took a look. He muttered, it's a good thing. This thing is very mysterious. This should be related to the activation of the life force of the immortals, and it has been converted into a human cultivation technique. What a pity, what a pity. What a pity, it really wasn't suitable for him. It could be used as a reference. Otherwise, he might really be able to reverse the death chi in his body. What a pity. However, this cultivation technique was really not bad. To the human race, it could be considered a supreme treasure, especially to some humans who were about to die of old age. It was a supreme treasure cultivation technique. This Su Yu was really magnanimous. He immediately gave away a powerful cultivation technique. This thing was obtained by Xia Longwu, and he probably couldn't bear to throw it around. Tianhe smiled and said, "It's a very sincere cultivation technique, the only pity is that I can't use it, but I can use it for reference. It's not bad." After saying that, Tianhe said indifferently, "If you want to leave, you can. But, the city gate. I can't open it." "City Lord." Su Yu's expression changed. "Why?" Tianhe said indifferently, "Everyone knows that you're trapped in the city, and I didn't provide any help to the immortal race and other races. Whoever comes to me, I didn't open the city gate for them. These are the rules of the ancient city. Even though I'm the city lord, I can't break these rules. Now, if I open the city gate for you, what will the other races think? If you leave and I'm still here, who will think for me?" Su Yu was slightly startled. "That's right." After hearing Tianhe's words, he somewhat understood. "That's right. Tianhe did not open the city gates for anyone and only let him go. Then what do the other races think?" He was somewhat enlightened. In order to let him go, Tianhe might offend the experts of the other races. It was indeed a little difficult for Tianhe. Su Yu sighed in his heart. He had not considered this point before. He stood up and bowed slightly. "Thank you, City Lord, for your explanation. Su Yu, you are too reckless. In that case, I won't leave. I will fight to the death with them in this city. I only hope that City Lord will continue to watch from the sidelines." He turned around and was about to leave. "Since it did not work, then I will go and kill." The killing intent was thick. Beside him, the elder could feel the killing intent and was secretly shocked. What a great killing intent. This human genius was really different from what he had seen in the past. His heart was as cold as steel. He was also very decisive and terrifying. Since it didn't work, then he would leave. When he left, it would probably be the time to start a massacre. He was really ruthless. A human genius, even at Xia Longwu's age back then, definitely didn't have such a great killing intent. How many people had he killed? Su Yu had really killed many people. If a dead spirit could be counted as a human, he had killed at least 1,000 this time. He had killed geniuses, monsters, divine literature experts, gods and demons, there was nothing he did not kill. Tianhe saw that he was about to leave and could not help but laugh. He said, "Don't worry, I can't open the door for you. But it's not that I don't have a chance. The city lord's mansion has a back hall. You go and try your luck. If you're lucky, there might be a way. If you're unlucky, you can do whatever you want. I won't care about anything in the city." An interesting kid, a troublesome kid. Perhaps he could only leave it to that kid. As for whether that kid would give him a way out, he didn't care. Su Yu was slightly startled. He turned around and said respectfully, "Thank you for your advice, City Lord." Heaven Hunting Pavilion. Heaven Hunting Pavilion had provided him with a piece of information. The City Lord's mansion had an opportunity, and the opportunity was in the back hall. He had not encountered the fortuitous encounter in the ancient house, but he had obtained the ancient city token. However, among the 3 great fortuitous encounters, there was another one, the fortuitous encounter in the City Lord's mansion. At this moment, he actually had the opportunity to take a look. Su Yu was a little surprised. Heaven's Gate, bring him there. Yes. Outside the door, Heaven's Gate was also surprised. The back hall was a forbidden area, and the city lord actually let Su Yu go. It was really unexpected. After Su Yu and Heaven's Gate left, the old man suddenly sent a voice transmission, "Sir, why did you let him go there? This isn't appropriate, right?" Tian he drank his wine and smiled. He said lightly, "It's fine. What can be hidden from him in the city? It's not a small problem, so I'll leave it to him. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not invincible, so how can I accept these grudges? I can't kill or let go. I'll give him a favor. Whether I succeed or fail, it's more or less a favor. The old man didn't say anything more. If he said too much, he would be easily sensed by the stone statue in the back hall. This was a taboo in the ancient city. As for what the city lord was thinking, the old man didn't understand either. Tianhe picked up the cultivation technique again and sighed. Unfortunately, it didn't apply to me. Unfortunately, the cultivation technique was a good one. The aura of death is getting stronger. Xia Longwu, can you cut off this aura of death? He laughed at himself. Perhaps it's just my wishful thinking. At this moment, in the back hall, the stone statue opened its eyes and looked at Su Yu and the Heaven's Gate who were walking out of the hall. When it looked again, Tianhe's appearance appeared in its eyes. You can shift the blame. You've thrown all sorts of nonsense to my side. What's the point of having a fake city lord like you? I'm just a rock. Do you really need me to worry about such trivial matters? A moment later, Su Yu entered the main hall. The stone statue closed its eyes. Out of sight, out of mind. I didn't really want to bother with it. Heaven's Gate also entered the hall. He took a look at the stone statue and wasn't surprised. This stone statue couldn't be broken, moved, or chased away. It had existed since ancient times. There didn't seem to be any problems with it closing its eyes. More importantly, he felt that the sculpture today was frowning a little. Was he overthinking things? P.S. Push a book. Black Mountain Old Ghost's new book, White-Headed Demon Master. It doesn't matter if the main character is powerful or not, the controls need to be flashy, and the hairstyle needs to be fluttering. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1704. 1704 Chapter 385, I Understand Now. Thanks to Miss Candy Flavor for the silver tip. 1. On the last day of this month, I'm asking for a monthly pass. I won't waste it. In the main hall, a huge stone sculpture stood erect. The divine gate sent someone over and quickly said, you can just wait here. No one knows if you'll receive any revelations. Su Yu asked in puzzlement, just wait here? Yes. Has anyone obtained any opportunities? Of course there are. Heaven's Gate thought for a moment and said, there are quite a number of people here. You might know some of them. Back then, Yi Batian came, and Xia Longwu came. Wait. Su Yu was puzzled. Mansion Master Xia, that. He came here. Stop fooling around. He sent Tianhe flying with a single slash. He came here. Had he forced his way in after sending Tianhe flying? Tianmen was silent. He nodded and said, he has been here before. Alright, Su Yu did not say anything else. Did he get all the benefits? No, Xia Longwu came. He waited for a sun and moon undead spirit to appear before killing it and escaping. Su Yu was stunned. What the F***ck? Mansion Master Xia waited for the sun and moon undead spirit to appear. Are you sure this is an opportunity and not a land of death? Even if the sun and moon encountered the sun and moon undead, they would still be corroded to death. Xia Longwu even killed the sun and moon undead. Su Yu was puzzled. If he killed the mountain and sea undead to lure the sun and moon undead out, then killing the sun and moon undead wouldn't draw out the invincible undead, right? Would there be an invincible undead? I don't know. This Heaven's Gate really didn't know. He explained, after Xia Longwu killed the sun and moon undead, he quickly retreated. There weren't any unusual movements, but he was seriously injured. Perhaps he encountered something. I, as a mountain and sea, can't participate in these matters. Compared to Xia Longwu, a mountain and sea expert was nothing. Not to mention him, even the city lord who wanted to take charge was sent flying with a single slash. Not to mention him, he died with a single slash. He naturally didn't know what happened to Xiaolongwu. He only knew that Xiaolongwu was injured, and even that kind of expert was injured. One could imagine how dangerous this place was. Of course, this place really did have opportunities. Then who obtained an opportunity? Yi Badian. Tianmen explained, Yi Badian came here and obtained an opportunity. It seems to be a cultivation technique, and no one knows exactly what kind of cultivation technique it is. However, after Yi Baishan's strength soared, he dominated the heavenly battlefield, and no one was able to defeat him. It would be an exaggeration if no one was able to defeat him. Su Yu was a little strange. The fifth generation obtained an opportunity here. At this moment, the stone sculpture wanted to add that it had little to do with him. That cultivation technique was nothing, but Yi Badian himself was reckless enough. As for Xiaolongwu, he was just a killing embryo. Even if he was seriously injured, it had little to do with him. That madman wanted to kill the place where the dead souls resided. This stone sculpture was also very helpless. He was lucky that he didn't die. As for the so-called killing of a sun and moon dead soul, that was what you all saw. At the end of the killing, you all saw one dead soul being killed, but at the beginning, you killed about 20 dead souls. Alright, this stone sculpture couldn't remember clearly. The killing almost caused the undead to riot. He was lucky that he didn't die. The stone sculpture thought silently. This stone sculpture is about to fall into a deep sleep. You don't have to wait anymore. After Heaven's Gate finished saying this, he said again, then I'll take my leave first. It's best if there's only one person in this place. If there are too many people, there won't be any abnormalities. The stone sculpture continued to think. Because it was very annoying to have too many people, if he didn't kill all of you, then this stone sculpture would be magnanimous. As for the individual who obtained an opportunity, some were purely boasting, and I couldn't say anything about it. Some were extremely talented, and he didn't give them anything anyway. Most of them were the ones who comprehended some things on their own. The heavenly gate left. In the main hall, only Su Yu was left. No, there was also the little fur ball that licked the divine runes, as well as a stone statue. Su Yu took a look. The entire main hall was very simple and crude. Of course, it was very big. The stone statue was at least 30 meters tall, but it was still spacious in the main hall. It did not seem to be crowded at all. Moreover, the stone statue was sitting cross-legged. When it stood up, it should be very tall. The most eye-catching thing was this stone statue. Other than that, there was almost nothing else. Su Yu looked at the ground, the walls, the roof. They all seemed to be one, as if they had existed since ancient times. He stepped on them, but they did not move at all. He wanted to cut them down to see, but he was worried that he would attract the undead. Although he was not afraid, it was not good to attract the undead in their territory. After looking at the other things, he looked at the stone sculpture. It was huge. It was really huge. He sat cross-legged for 30 meters, which was the height of a 10-story building. He could not see the top at all. At this moment, Su Yu was standing next to the stone sculpture like a kitten. Su Yu carefully observed the stone sculpture and found that it was lifelike. It was a man. There was no doubt that he looked like a human. However, Su Yu took a closer look and found that he did not look like a human. There seemed to be a tail behind his buttocks. He could not see it clearly and walked to the back. However, he could only see the clothes that covered his buttocks. It was also lifelike. However, there seemed to be a tip of the tail sticking out. Tail. Su Yu muttered. It was not a human. There were too many races with tails, so he could not determine what it was. It has existed for many years. It was carved by an ancient expert. Could it be the original owner of the ancient city? Su Yu fell into deep thought. He stared at the tail for a while and revealed a small section. He did not know how long it was. After looking at the tail, he walked to the front and looked again. He said strangely, in the ancient times, this style of clothing was quite trendy. It even deliberately revealed the chest. The key is that it was a man. The stone sculpture continued to sleep. What the f***ck? Su Yu looked around and touched his thigh. The hair on his thigh was very realistic. Even a strand of hair was very long. However, it was petrified. Although it was realistic, it still had a sense of history. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1705. 1705 Chapter 385, I Understand Now. Thanks to Miss Candy Flavor for the silver tip, too. I ruthlessly pulled it out, but there was no response. This stone sculpture was indeed very sturdy. The stone sculpture continued to sleep. There were people who attacked me, but there were no people who would pluck my leg hair the moment they arrived. Are you bored? Su Yu continued to investigate and flew upwards. He wasn't too afraid, nor did he care about the stone sculpture. Because there were records that this stone sculpture had been attacked by Tianhe before, but it wasn't broken. It was very sturdy. Tianhe was fine, and Xia Longwu was in danger, it should not have much to do with the sculpture. After flying up to the head, Su Yu stood on the sculpture's shoulder. At this moment, he was not even as tall as the other party's head. Standing up, he was about 50 to 60 meters tall. His head was at least 7 to 8 meters tall. Su Yu was only as long as the sculpture's neck. Standing on his shoulder, he walked around the neck. When he passed by his chin, Su Yu felt that something was blocking him. He looked up and saw that it was probably his beard. He punched his beard. This guy's beard was so lifelike. Who carved this? To be able to successfully carve such a sturdy material, the person who carved it must be extremely powerful. Sturdy material. Su Yu was slightly shocked. Sturdy material. A divine light flickered in his eyes. Sturdy material. This thing was even difficult to destroy even for those at the 9th layer of the Sun-Moon realm. Could it be that it was an extremely rare weapon forging material? Su Yu's gaze suddenly changed. Was this an opportunity? An enormous opportunity? An opportunity to forge a divine weapon? He swallowed his saliva and suddenly jumped down. He didn't disturb the stone sculpture's beard anymore. He quickly jumped down and sized it up. His gaze changed. I can't take it away, I can't move it. Then I'll use this as a foundation. How about forging an Earth soldier? An Earth soldier would definitely be no problem. What about forging an embryonic form of a divine weapon? Can I take it away? Even if I can't bring it with me, this is still an extremely powerful material. If I forge it, I might be able to leave a mark on it. Perhaps, I might be able to move the stone sculpture. If I can, this thing is extremely sturdy. If I were to smash a person to death in front of a stone, I would be able to smash many experts to death. Su Yu's heart leaped. Is this my fortuitous encounter? The greatest weapon forging treasure. It's a pity that Zhao Laoshe isn't around. Otherwise, if I were to join hands with Zhao Laoshe, Su Yu muttered to himself, he might really be able to forge a heavenly weapon. Even if it was a heavenly weapon that couldn't be taken away, where could he find such good forging materials? This thing was so sturdy that it couldn't even be broken through to the 9th level of the Sun-Moon realm. This was the best material for forging weapons. You could try any forging method you wanted. Su Yu's eyes lit up. This might really be my fortuitous encounter. Forging a powerful weapon, or could even learn from old Zhao and fuse a divine text into it. It could be used as a lifeblood weapon to forge. The material of this thing definitely surpassed some heavenly weapons. In any case, he had many divine texts, and there wasn't any difference between main divine texts. Fusing a divine text into it might not be a problem. Thinking of this, Su Yu's eyes instantly lit up. If he could really smelt this stone sculpture away, F***ck, it would be comparable to the quality of a divine weapon. Even if it didn't have any special characteristics, just its sturdiness alone would be enough to make it invincible. Boom! A flame burned, and the flames of the Tier 4 divine inscriptions began to burn the stone sculpture. At this moment, Su Yu didn't care about whether the undead were undead or not. He had discovered his opportunity. The stone sculpture closed its eyes silently. What is he doing? He's burning me. Could it be that he's testing his sturdiness? Just as he was thinking about this, a large hammer appeared in Su Yu's hand. In the next moment, it flew above his head. With a boom, the hammer smashed down. When this hammer smashed down, Su Yu's body shook violently, but he was instantly overjoyed. Good material. Even the Quake Divine script felt a powerful rebound force. I'm rich. Once this thing became his natal scribe, Su Yu believed that his strength would definitely soar. He would have no problem withstanding 99 divine script battle techniques. From now on, he didn't need to worry about scribes anymore. 5 divine scripts of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth appeared, and the forging technique was activated. Rumble. Hammer after hammer, Su Yu sweated profusely. If he wanted to forge this stone sculpture, even if he couldn't melt it, it didn't matter much. As long as he could use the spirit expanding technique to create the slightest bit of synergy, he would be able to fuse with the divine inscriptions and become one with them. Perhaps, he could control this stone sculpture and smash a mountain and sea to death for fun. And at this moment, the stone sculpture was in a daze. He was forging me. Yes, he finally discovered Su Yu's goal. He used me as a material to forge weapons. F***ck. This was the first time in history that someone had burned him, hammered him, and beaten him. However, no one treated him as a material and wanted to use him as a foundation to forge a world-shaking weapon. It could be that he didn't have any weapon forging division here. Even the stone sculptures were in a daze. Speaking of which, could he really forge a divine weapon with me? Thinking about it, if he was strong enough, he could really do it. Not to mention petrifying, even if he wasn't petrified, there were still people who cast methods. They cast living people into weapons. The stronger the weapon forged. Just like Hu Qi, she had captured the sun and moon last time and directly used it to forge weapons. At this moment, the same logic applied. If Su Yu was strong enough and had good luck, he might really be able to cast the stone sculptures into an unparalleled stone weapon. It would definitely be incomparably powerful. From his train of thought, there was no problem with Su Yu's logic. It all depended on whether he could successfully cast it. Not only that, Su Yu was casting the weapon at this moment to temper his physical body, consolidate his realm, and shake his physical body. The Quake Divine Text and the Divine Amplification technique could help him remove some impurities in his physical body and willpower. After many reversals of Yuan Qi, his physical body had just broken through not long ago. He had broken through one after another. At this moment, Su Yu also had the intention of taking the opportunity to forge himself. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1706. 1706 Chapter 385, I Understand Now. Thanks to Miss Candy Flavor for the silver tip, 3. Even if he couldn't successfully forge it, it was rare to see such a good material. He could use all 18 types of martial arts. An ordinary material would shatter after a few strikes from the God-expanding hammer. This thing was good. It would probably not shatter even after a few tens of thousands of strikes. Suyu hammered crazily. He was in a good mood, and it was truly a good thing. He was currently adjusting the frequency of his vibration, striving to be consistent with the stone sculpture. After hammering the stone sculpture for a while, he realized that the stone sculpture was very interesting, and it was a truly good material. Under the vibration, a special frequency would be transmitted. Suyu wanted to be consistent, and he wanted to fuse his divine runes into it. At this moment, he was also adjusting himself. Once, twice. Suyu slowly adjusted himself. Gradually, the frequency of the tremors increased. As for Suyu, he stared at the stone sculpture's hammering as a cultivation technique appeared in his eyes. He was still adjusting the frequency to vibrate his body. The tremors, the tremors. Suyu suddenly felt all the pores on his body open. His bones, flesh, and yuan qi began to vibrate at the same time. An indescribable feeling surged into his heart as he muttered, "Breathing technique, the breathing technique of yuan qi." His expression changed completely. He was only forging weapons, but he had actually comprehended a cultivation technique. It was a very special cultivation technique. It was not a cultivation technique for opening one's mind, but a cultivation technique for breathing, breathing, and breathing. It was a cultivation technique that sped up one's cultivation. Suyu was shocked. This thing did not restrict the race. There was no other reason. It did not require the cooperation of one's yuan aperture. Instead, it was a problem of the frequency of one's vibration. Under Suyu's shock, he completely understood what was meant by a fortuitous encounter. Could it be that the fifth generation obtained the cultivation technique from the same source? Could it be that the fifth generation had also forged this stone sculpture? So, they had also obtained the cultivation technique inheritance. Inhale. Huff. Suyu continued forging. As the huge hammer struck the stone sculpture, coupled with the frequency of the vibration, a large amount of aura of death seemed to have not been expelled from his body previously. At this moment, the aura of death had been expelled from his body, and some of the black blood that had died was expelled from his pores. As for Suyu, he did not rest until the very end. He simply took out some heaven yuan qi and spread it around, enjoying the joy of forging. 398. As for the stone sculpture, it was silently counting. This kid has hammered me 398 times. However, he did have some perception. By accident, he actually managed to comprehend his breathing technique. He was alive. In fact, he had been breathing, cultivating, and breathing yuan qi. No one had seen him. No one had done it before. Forging him and then adjusting his frequency was the same as him. Suyu's goal was to fuse the divine runes into him, which corresponded to his breathing technique. He had really learned his breathing technique by accident. This was also an excellent method and cultivation technique for ancient warriors to strengthen their bodies. He was not an ordinary ancient warrior. His breathing technique was very powerful. Under the petrification, not to mention the sun and moon, even if he was invincible, he might not be able to break through his defense. All of this was also due to the strength of the breathing technique. And at this moment, Suyu had not learned it completely, but he had indeed learned the basics. The stone sculpture was instantly surprised. What was this? Forging me, and then, you learned a bit of the ancient breathing technique. You are torturing me, and you still want benefits? Also, is there a lot of heavenly yuan qi? The stone sculpture silently absorbed it, but Suyu did not feel anything strange. He only felt that the heavenly yuan qi was being used up very quickly. He had just taken out 10 portions, and in the blink of an eye, it was gone. F***ck. Suyu was depressed. This breathing technique was very powerful, but it seemed to have improved his physical body. It felt very powerful. His explosive strength did not increase much, but Su Yu felt that his physical body's endurance had increased a little. 10 portions of Heaven Yuan Qi was not wasted. It was just a little too much. A very powerful breathing technique, it's normal for it to consume a lot of energy. Su Yu was still very happy. He continued to take out Heaven Yuan Qi and continue forging. He continued to breathe in and out Heaven Yuan Qi. His physical body was slowly strengthening. With the death Qi and death blood being expelled, he felt refreshed. His willpower became active. And at this moment, Su Yu began to circulate the art of longevity, which was the immortal race's life force activation method. The popping sounds were incessant. He realized that with this cultivation method, his body became more active. This was also an experiment that he made on a whim. As for the stone sculpture, it was still secretly absorbing the Heaven Yuan Qi in the beginning, but now, it suddenly lost all interest. What the F***ck? It was forging itself and learning from the immortals to fart. It really couldn't stand this guy. What kind of nonsense was this? Didn't this kid want to leave? Get lost as soon as possible. Trouble. At this moment, he opened his eyes. And at this moment, Su Yu was completely ignorant. He was still immersed in the joy of cultivation. Just as he continued forging, he suddenly hammered empty air. He was slightly stunned and instantly became alert. And at this moment, he did not seem to be in the main hall, but in another space. Who is it? Su Yu scouted the surroundings, but there was no movement, no response. The Calamity Divine script did not move, or rather, all the divine scripts were dead silent. Su Yu was shocked. This was the so-called opportunity, or disaster. Where am I? Am I not in the back hall of the city lord's mansion? Why am I suddenly here? And at this moment, an ethereal voice came from the sky, coming from all directions. It shook Su Yu so much that his ears were about to explode. Mortal! Speak your wish. That majestic voice, that heart-shaking voice, made Su Yu's heart tremble. Senior, who is this expert? Mortal, speak your wish. The loud voice sounded once again, shaking Su Yu's eardrums to the point that they were about to shatter. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1707. 1707 Chapter 385, I Understand Now. Thanks to Miss Candy Flavor for the silver tip, 4. Su Yu's heart skipped a beat, and he hurriedly asked, Senior, a wish. The opportunity here, is it possible to make a wish? Yes. After receiving a reply, Su Yu was not happy, but his heart was palpitating. Alive? Not a program? Su Yu was shocked and did not dare to reveal it. He carefully said, Senior, can I make any wish? Speak. I want to destroy the God and Devil realm. Silence. Silence. Su Yu sensed it and was afraid of getting into trouble. He said hurriedly, this wish is too big. Then can Senior give me 1,000,000 strands of heaven and earth mystic light? Silence. Su Yu probed and said carefully, then can Senior give me 1,000,000 heaven origin fruits? Or, a lump of willpower that can allow me to advance to the sun and moon realm, the pure kind? Su Yu didn't get a response. He wanted to curse. You asked me to say my wish, but why didn't you reply? At this moment, a loud voice sounded again, say a wish that suits your own strength. F***ck, you're bullshitting. Wasn't your wish to leave heaven-destroying city as soon as possible? Why was it so random? In Su Yu's opinion, if he could directly kill the enemy, then he naturally didn't need to leave the city. This was his true wish. As for leaving the city, that was a choice he had no choice but to make. Thinking of this, hearing this voice that suited his own strength, Su Yu thought for a moment, then carefully said, Senior, I've killed the peak of the mountain and sea realm. Do I count as the peak of the mountain and sea realm? What was this thing? Up until now, Suyu still didn't know where he was. And to outsiders, he was actually still in the same place. The stone sculpture didn't respond to him. Suyu continued, Senior, can you gift me 1,000 mountain and sea undead? The kind that listens to me. This is in line with my strength, right? If I can. 1,000 mountain and sea undead, I can kill a bunch of suns and moons without any problem. Why would I run? When the suns and moons of the myriad clans arrive, I'll kill them all. Of course, I was also trying to test the waters. Where in the world did I go? It was a terrifying feeling. Could it be related to the undead? Would I be able to lead a group of undead? The more I came into contact with the ancient city of heaven's destruction, the more fearful I became, and the more mysterious it became. What a strange city. And at this moment, the stone statue really wanted to slap him to death. Don't make unrealistic demands. Are you going to leave the city or not? Without waiting for a reply, Suyu knew that the other party wouldn't be able to do it, so he felt a little helpless. From the looks of it, he wasn't as mysterious and powerful as he had thought, so he wouldn't be able to make such a demand either. Of course, he was still under the roof now. Forget it, he might as well bring up some things that the other party might be able to do. Senior, can you gift me 100 ancient city shuttle amulets? The stone sculpture was petrified. What did that mean? He somewhat understood. This brat didn't want to leave the city just like that. He felt that he might lose out. Using the ancient city shuttle talismans to travel freely was much better than leaving the city alone. To leave the city, one could only use the city gates. Whether one went out or came in, they would be targeted by others. Right now, there were probably experts outside the city. If Suyu really wanted to leave through the city gates, it wouldn't be easy to explain. But if he went out through the city gates? Even the stone sculpture felt that this kid had really thought it through. It was more than he had imagined. If he could shuttle back and forth, he could go out. He could even mingle outside the city and be a bystander to watch the show. No one would have thought that he would go out of the city from another place. At this moment, the stone sculpture himself was thinking a lot. How could this kid think so much at this moment? He even arranged a way out. He opened his mouth and said 100 shuttle talismans. What was he thinking? Was there such a thing? Of course there was, but since ancient times, no one had ever mentioned that there was a city gate, so what shuttle talismans did they want? Suyu didn't wait for a reply and cursed inwardly. There wasn't even this. What kind of opportunity was this? Could it be that it wasn't something to use illusions to scare him? He was extremely careful. He wanted to try shaking the blood-written divine script, but he found that he couldn't even sense the blood-written divine script. Once again, he was shocked. Forget it, he might have really barged into the domain of some mighty figure. After a moment of silence, the stone sculpture said in a loud voice, 3 shuttle talismans can be used to leave at any place, but, the shuttle talismans have a time limit. They will disappear within 3 days. As soon as he finished speaking, space disappeared. As for Suyu, his vision blurred. He opened his eyes and was stunned for a moment. He was still in the process of forging. The stone sculpture was still the stone sculpture, and the hall was still the hall. There was nothing abnormal. His heart trembled slightly. At this moment, 3 jade talismans appeared out of thin air around him. Suyu didn't dare to think about it anymore. Lowering his head, he put away his hammer and said in a deep voice, "Thank you for your generous gift, Senior." He didn't know what this was. Was it done by an expert, or was it a mechanism of the ancient city? It wasn't strange for people to be courteous. They should be polite first. He thanked Suyu, but there was no response. Suyu didn't mind at all. After obtaining the 3 jade talismans, he was delighted. With this item, he could leave as he pleased. 3 jade talismans, and within 3 days, there was actually a time limit. Forget it, it didn't matter. He didn't know that the stone sculpture only wanted him to leave as soon as possible. It was very annoying. At most 3 days, get lost. As for the rest, he couldn't be bothered to say anything else. After Su Yu was delighted, his heart stirred slightly. Where did this fortuitous encounter come from? It came from forging. He had gained too much from forging this time. That mysterious breathing and breathing technique, as well as these 3 jade talismans, he could give it a try later. In that case, if he continued forging, there might be some benefits. Could it be that this was the same as the 100 Dao Pavilion, a fortuitous encounter that could be blocked? Thinking of this, he continued to forge, forging crazily. If he could take away this stone sculpture, that would be even better. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1708. 1708 Chapter 385 I Understand Now. Thanks to Miss Candy Flavor and Silver Tip, 5. The stone sculpture was stunned. F***CK. I gave you something, why aren't you getting out? Are you addicted to hammering? If you can forge me, I will have lived all these years in vain. Somewhat speechless, the stone sculpture did not say anything, but the frequency of the vibration of the stone sculpture became stronger. Boom! Su Yu's body trembled violently, and blood seeped out of his pores. The vibration force has become stronger. The stone statue was satisfied and allowed him to continue forging and shock him to death. As for Su Yu, his eyes were bright. As expected, there is still a chance. The vibration force has become stronger. It can help me better temper my body. Boom! With a hammer strike, Su Yu's body began to tremble again. The divine inscriptions of the vibration also began to tremble continuously. Even the God-expanding hammer began to tremble. Su Yu felt an incomparably powerful pressure. Was this a cultivation technique? A vibration technique? An attack technique? The big hammer could actually vibrate as well. Zhao Li's God-expanding hammer was used to create literary weapons to vibrate, but Su Yu wasn't proficient in it. Moreover, Zhao Li's God-expanding hammer wasn't used to kill people after all. And this vibration power, Su Yu felt that it could kill people, and that killing people was very powerful. This was a powerful cultivation technique. That was what he thought. He had comprehended another cultivation technique, but he did not quite understand it. Without a second thought, he burned the divine fire text of inheritance and his comprehension increased greatly. Su Yu continued to forge crazily. His body cracked from the vibration time and time again as he absorbed the heaven yuan qi. Gradually, the big hammer also emitted an unusual vibration power. Boom! With a hammer strike, Su Yu once again withstood the vibration power. However, his body no longer cracked. Instead, he began to enjoy it. Yes, this was the feeling. This could be considered a kind of killing technique, but there was no technique or anything like it. It was all based on comprehension. At this moment, Su Yu had comprehended it. An extremely powerful killing technique. With a single hammer strike, in an indiscernible manner, the hammer vibrated 72 times, and the power stacked up. Rumble. Su Yu's physical strength exceeded 10,000 apertures. With each hammer strike, the power stacked up again and again, causing him to feel that his strength had increased by more than 10%. This was already very terrifying. Su Yu was overjoyed. As expected, this was truly an opportunity. The more he forged, the more opportunities there were. Outsiders did not know at all. And at this moment, the stone sculpture was already somewhat dumbfounded. I want to shock you until you spit out blood and scram. You actually learned this as a success technique? Alright, to him, this was only a punishment for Su Yu. But his every move, perhaps to Su Yu, was a kind of comprehension, a kind of experience, a kind of opportunity. The stone sculpture was already speechless. His comprehension ability was very strong, his talent was not bad, and that divine text was not bad either. Helping him comprehend it, forcing him to comprehend it, actually, this was considered a *T cultivation technique. Of course, it could be considered a kind of technique. Su Yu himself also had a bit of foundation. The Quake divine text and the God expanding hammer both had this kind of technique, so he was able to comprehend some things. He was able to comprehend some things that the stone sculpture did not want to impart to him, or in other words, the way to use power. As for Su Yu, he had obtained great opportunities one after another. In his joy, he hammered even harder. Awesome! This place was truly a treasure ground. Heaven and earth mystic light, willpower dumpling, divine text, sun and moon mystic yellow liquid, he could obtain them all. Be it killing, robbing, or buying, in short, he had a way. But this breathing technique, this vibration technique, and this shuttle talisman, where were you going to buy them? Su Yu felt that what he had obtained was a truly great opportunity. A great opportunity. No wonder the Heaven Hunting Pavilion would say that this place was where the greatest opportunity lay. As for the stone sculpture, he felt very speechless. This time, he really didn't impart anything. Just like Yi Badian and the others who had obtained the opportunity, he didn't impart anything. At least, he didn't intentionally give anything. It was all their own wild imaginations, and then they realized something, they felt that this place was a great opportunity. This place, there was no such thing as an opportunity. It was more like a crisis. Unfortunately, no one believed it. If Su Yu were to become stronger in the future and gain some insights, perhaps he would tell others that he had obtained a great opportunity in this ancient city. Would future generations doubt it? No. As for Su Yu himself, he might not doubt anything for the rest of his life because he had really obtained some benefits. This was a fortuitous encounter. Tremors, hammering. Su Yu took the opportunity to forge his physical body, comprehend the tremors technique, and experience the breathing technique. Other than the fact that the consumption of Heaven Yuan Qi was a little high, there were no other disadvantages. They were all benefits. Su Yu was very happy. A place of great fortuitous encounters. This place was really good. Perhaps his current strength was not enough, or perhaps it was the same as the 100-path pavilion. When he became stronger, he could continue to plunder sheep's wool. Perhaps when he reached the mountains and seas, he could hammer out a set of godly skills. When he reached the sun and moon, he could hammer out a godly weapon. This was a really good place. Su Yu hammered, and hammered. The Quake godly text had advanced and directly entered Tier 3. This godly text, which he had learned not long ago, had advanced to Tier 2 under Old Zhao. Now that he had mastered the Quake technique, he had actually advanced to rank 3. With a single hammering, the Quake-type divine prose became even stronger. It's a fortuitous encounter. Su Yu was once again overjoyed. He had reaped such a great harvest. As for the crisis, there was no crisis. He could leave at any time. What crisis was there? Bang! With another hammering, Su Yu's vision blurred. The stone sculpture was truly impatient. Forget about the hammering. Perhaps the ancient god-devouring race member in this kid's head felt that it was good and delicious, but he actually sneaked out and bit his tail. *CK your grandpa. Although he couldn't bite him, this ancient god-devouring race member didn't bite his body, but his willpower. How annoying. The stone sculpture had no choice but to shake him out and make him scram. That was enough. After shaking him out, he put away his somewhat exposed tail. Next time, he wouldn't let anyone see his tail. As for Su Yu not being able to see his tail the next time he came, that was his business. Su Yu, who had been shaken out, was slightly startled when he saw the doors of the main hall close. It was as if he had understood something. He seemed to be deep in thought as he bowed and said, "Thank you for your guidance, Senior. One cannot be too greedy. I understand this principle. Yes, I have learned enough. Don't be greedy anymore." Whether it was the program or the senior, chasing me away was probably to tell me this principle. Don't be too greedy. I understand. At the side, little Harry Ball, who had also been sent flying, shook his body in confusion. I think I'm about to eat something delicious. I should have eaten earlier. I ate too slowly. Just as I felt like I was about to eat something, I was sent flying. Of course, I didn't dare to say this. I sneaked a glance at the fragrant thing. Perhaps it was because I wanted to eat something delicious that I was sent flying. I won't talk about this anymore. If he were to say it out loud, the fragrant thing would kill him. In the city lord's mansion, Tianhe was slightly startled. The main hall's door was closed. What was going on? This main hall had never been closed before. Why was it closed today? What did this mean? The stone man behind didn't want to let him out of the city? That was strange. Tianhe was a little confused. Back then, when Xia Longwu came, he had killed so many dead souls that they were about to explode. The stone sculpture hadn't closed its door either. Today's action was somewhat unexpected. As for Su Yu, he had a big smile on his face. It seemed like he had gained a lot, but it did not seem like he had been chased out. Did he gain something? He did not understand. Forget it. This was a matter of the stone sculpture. It had nothing to do with him. P.S. Thank you to the Candy Girl from the Book City for the silver reward. The Book City's monthly votes are actually second. They are only 200 votes short of first place. I beg everyone in the Book City to vote. There are only 3 hours left. First place can earn $2,000 more. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1709. 1709 Chapter 386 Fish in a Jar, Monthly Ticket at the beginning of the month, 1. Outside the main hall, Su Yu understood. He was very happy, very excited, and also very excited. There were so many opportunities. It was just a pity that he was sent out too quickly. Forget it, one cannot chew too much. I understand this principle. This time, it's here. The main hall is still here. I'm not strong enough now. When I'm strong enough, I'll come again. Perhaps there will be opportunities. This was no different from the 100 Dao Pavilion. Both required strength. He turned around and left, no longer dragging his feet. He was already very satisfied. As he walked and moved, the breathing technique played its role, strengthening his body and promoting the absorption of Yuan Qi. At this moment, Su Yu's body was even stronger than before. And in his mind, the divine runes were sparkling and translucent. The Quake divine runes shook his sea of will, his divine aperture, and also expanded his sea of will. As the divine runes advanced, Su Yu's God-expanding hammer also became stronger. This time, his willpower could not be suppressed. It was on the verge of advancing. He had advanced a few times before, but he had been suppressed by Su Yu. This time, he was on the verge of advancing to the second level of Lingyun. He had gained a lot. More importantly, the 3 jade talismans could allow him to leave the ancient city at any time. This was very impressive. Su Yu originally wanted to pay a visit to the Heavenly River. However, the Heavenly Gate came and let him out. As they walked, he said, "The city lord has something on, so we won't be entertaining him. After we leave, if we can leave the city, let's leave the city as soon as possible." Today, more and more experts are rushing to the ancient city. There may already be experts guarding the city gate. Since there weren't many people, they should hurry up and run. He said again, the city gate isn't sealed forever. After the sun and moon undead leave, the city gate will open again. Suyu thought for a moment and asked, how long will it take? About 3 days. Suyu understood. No wonder the shuttle talisman was only given 3 days, because after 3 days, the city gate would open automatically. As Suyu walked, he thought. After walking for a while, he asked again, General Tianmen, which ring of the ancient house can the sun and moon undead attack to kill people? It depends on the sun and moon. Tianmen thought for a while and explained, actually, up until now, I haven't seen the sun and moon undead spirits appear many times. Every time they appear, there will be a great disturbance and a great disaster. The first 3 rings of the sun and moon should be able to enter the ancient house of the 18th ring to the 12th ring. The 4th ring to the 6th ring should be able to enter the 12th ring to the 6th ring. The inner 6 rings should be able to enter the undead spirits of the sun and moon. Suyu understood. Then the 3 undead outside shouldn't be the level of the sun and moon. That's right. Heaven's Gate agreed. It definitely wasn't the case. Although they had killed many undead, it wouldn't be so easy to provoke the level of the sun and moon. At that time, it would be a huge problem. Unless they killed these sun and moon undead now, it might attract even more powerful undead. Suyu continued, General Tianmen, I'm curious about something. Where did these wraiths come from? Could they be under the city? Because I discovered that there's no way to escape from here. Also, were the wraiths formed after the ancient residents died? Tianmen thought for a moment, he said, as for where exactly? I'm not too sure. As for how the wraiths formed? Let's put it this way. The ancient wraiths are a minority. There's a high probability that they were converted by the ancient residents. But these weak wraiths now, should be converted by the current residents. Oh. Heaven's Gate sighed, as you can see, there are still quite a number of living beings in the ancient city who choose to convert into residents. After these living beings die, there's a high probability that they will be converted into undead. Thus, there are now a large number of weak undead. He sighed, he said softly, we are no exception. Actually, we can indeed survive here by converting into residents. We aren't too afraid of the aura of death. However, living beings like us have long been surrounded by the aura of death. We will slowly convert. When we die, we will become undead. When the residents of the ancient city die, there will be no corpses. They will just die. Suyu shook his head. It was a very sad thing. Some residents knew that they would become undead after death. Some would rather self-destruct, while others chose to leave the city and die. Only then did Suyu understand the operation mechanism of the ancient city. So that was the case. The countless undead were actually converted by the residents. This place was a manufacturing factory for undead. Because of various reasons, a large number of living beings had no choice but to change into residents and die very quickly. After death, they became undead. Suyu asked again, is there a way to escape? Tianmen shook his head, there's no other way. When all the yuan qi in your body turns into an aura of death, the time of death will come. The only thing we can do is delay. Before the aura of death completely covers you, we can devour some heaven yuan qi or other treasures to slow down the speed of the attack of the aura of death. Suyu asked hesitantly, then are there any immortal residents here? Heaven's Gate seemed to know something, he smiled and said, are you talking about the immortal cultivation technique of the immortal race? Indeed, the cultivation technique of this race, when combined with heaven yuan qi, can indeed greatly slow down the speed of the death qi's devouring, but it cannot be eradicated. This is because when you become a resident, this change will be irreversible. The death qi would continue to be born, turning the yuan qi in your body into death qi. Unless you died and stopped cultivating. Suyu was deep in thought. Then, if the residents of the ancient city leave the city, will they not be attacked by the death chi? Of course not. Heaven's Gate said indifferently, if it's that simple, then it won't be the ancient city. Even if you leave the city, you had better come back as soon as possible. Otherwise, as time passes, the death chi will spread faster and the time of death will be faster. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1710. 1710 Chapter 386 Fish in a Jar, Monthly Ticket at the beginning of the month, 2. Suyu sighed in his heart. I told you, this isn't an ancient city, this is an ancient coffin. A coffin that will bury everyone. Those who come here and become residents will die sooner or later. Of course, Suyu was thinking, what about the origin aperture reversal method of the dead souls? If this thing was given to them, for example, the Heaven's Gate, when the Heaven's Gate was filled with the aura of death and was about to die, if he suddenly reversed his origin aperture, would he be able to leave the ancient city? Just thinking about it, Suyu was not so kind as to give this to someone else. First, it was hard to explain how he got it. Second, the relationship was not good enough. Third, it was not good for him. The two of them chatted as they walked. Suyu said as he walked, then General Heaven's Gate, what requirements do you have to become the city lord or general? What conditions do you need? What benefits can you get after that? If there were no benefits, what was the point of becoming the city lord or general? Tianmen smiled but did not reply. Suyu was surprised. Was it a secret? Alright, let's not ask anymore. Very soon, the city lord's mansion's main gate was about to arrive. Tianmen suddenly said, actually, there are quite a lot of benefits. There's no need to be afraid of ordinary undead. It's also a little bit to be able to control a portion of the undead. Another thing, after becoming an undead, perhaps, you can retain a little bit of consciousness. Suyu was shocked and looked at him. Heaven's Gate did not look at him, but looked ahead. His tone was a little bleak as he said, generals and city lords are all people who have contributed to the operation of the ancient city. Perhaps it's because the ancient city sympathizes with them, or it's because there's always a reward for their efforts. After death, after becoming a dead spirit, perhaps they can retain a little bit of consciousness, but it's only a maybe. Why do you say that? Heaven's Gate said faintly, I once met a dead spirit. It might be a friend of mine. Back then, he entered the city with me. He died and probably turned into a dead spirit. Once, I seem to have met him. He stared at me for a long time and I saw something familiar. I wanted to go over and take a look. He saw me walking over and quickly ran away. That gaze is different from ordinary dead spirits. Suyu thought of the sun and moon wraiths and said, I have a feeling that the sun and moon wraiths might have some intelligence. Is your friend the sun and moon? No, it's the mountains and seas. Tianmen smiled and said, it's normal for the sun and moon wraiths to have some intelligence. The stronger they are, the more intelligence and consciousness they can retain after they die and turn into wraiths. I'm not sure about this yet. I'll tell you when I become the sun and moon, then I'll die and become a wraiths. I'll tell you when I meet you. Suyu was speechless. Your dream is great. Reversing the origin aperture. Suyu muttered to himself. This undead race could be considered a race. The answer given by the Golden Atlas was that after a person died, they would turn into an undead race. Could this be considered a race? Alright, this had nothing to do with him. Suyu thought for a moment and said, then right now, many people are trapped in the deep ancient houses. The aura of death is thick inside. The city gates will only open 3 days later. Are these guys going to die? Not necessarily. The Heaven's Gate smiled faintly and said, the experts and geniuses of various races all have some tricks. Even if they really can't hold on anymore, if they don't become residents, the death aura can still be reversed. If they really can't hold on anymore, then they can choose to become residents. It's better than dying. Suyu nodded and understood. The city gates would not open in 3 days. Suyu was still worried. Invincible is here. Will the city gates be broken through by force? Forcefully. Heaven's Gate said meaningfully, it's not like Invincible hasn't died in the ancient city before. You want to try forcing your way in? This time, Suyu understood once again. I understand. Even Invincible was unable to force his way in. Very good. Within 3 days. Alright, I understand. Then I'll do it for 3 days. In these 3 days, I want to hunt down some fellows. Of course, Suyu actually wanted to try and see if this shuttle talisman was real or fake. If it was fake, then he would be finished. But if it was real, he would waste 2 of them if he tried it again and again. If it didn't work, he could test it and go out to investigate the situation at the same time. It was better to be prepared than not prepared. Who knew if the shuttle talisman would work or not? If it didn't work, when the city gates opened and a large number of suns and moons entered the city, he would be foolish enough to think that he could leave at any time. That would be a true fool. He would be directly killed. Then the main hall gave me 3 shuttle talismans. Is that what it meant? Let me test it out. Perhaps the mysterious expert in the main hall also felt that it might have expired, so he gave me 3. Let me try it out. Otherwise, why would he give me 3? As for the little furball didn't need it. This fellow was equivalent to Suyu's divine text. There was no need to care about it. Without divine text, it could only be counted as a person. This race was very special. Perhaps this race was formed from the ancient divine culture. Of course, Suyu was just casually thinking about it. Suyu felt that he had understood the intentions of the expert who gave him the shuttle talisman. Sure enough, everything was for his own good. Perhaps he was also worried that the shuttle talisman had expired. In this way, Suyu could test it out and be prepared. He would not have to gamble at the crucial moment. A moment later, Suyu walked out of the city gate. There was still no one around. There were few undead spirits near the city lord's mansion. Suyu looked around and said in a clear voice, "Everyone, come out and take a look. Let me see your abilities. Dao has been achieved. Where are you?" Arrogant. Suyu was not being arrogant for the sake of being arrogant. He wanted to see if he could lure out some people and kill a group of people while the sun and moon undead spirits were still in the city. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1711. 1711 Chapter 386 A Turtle in a Jar, requesting a monthly ticket at the beginning of the month, 3. Whether it was converting the undead or using a shuttle talisman, the current Suyu at least had the ability to save his life. As long as he could lure the people out, Suyu would have a way to kill them. No one replied. Suyu didn't mind. He was careful and looked around. He turned into a gust of wind and disappeared on the spot. He needed to find a place to hide. First, he needed to shake off the fellows that might be spying on him. Then, he needed to turn into a dead spirit, and then, he needed to kill the dead spirits. He needed to keep the city filled with the dead spirits. There were dead spirits everywhere, and the aura of death was everywhere. Some fellows might not be able to take it and wanted to turn into residents. Then, he could pick up the jade talismans they threw out and kill them all, just like he did with the burning armor. If possible, they could kill a few more Shanghai realm dead souls and create some sun and moon dead souls to extend the time of sealing the city. I want to trap these fellows to death. Suyu made up his mind. There weren't many good people in the city right now. At that point, none of them would leave. The truly cowardly ones who were afraid of death would have long run away. Why would they wait until now? When the city was sealed. After wandering around, Suyu quickly found a room and went in. He put down the little furball once again. The little furball's entire body was limp. He was very depressed. He had asked this ball to act as a cover. It was fine if it was just a cover. But now, they didn't bring the rankings. They didn't have the rankings, so they couldn't chat with anyone. It was really boring. Fragrant, bring me along. No one knows where we're hiding now. Little Hairy Ball was very bored and did not want to hide in the house. Suyu thought about it and agreed. He nodded and said, "Then I'll bring you along. I can crush you at any time and use you as my trump card." That's right. Bringing Little Hairy Ball was still useful. Little Hairy Ball did not mind. He had already said this many times. If you give me divine runes to eat, we can discuss it. Xiang, when are we going to rob the Heaven Hunter Pavilion? They must have a lot of Xiang divine runes. No rush. Suyu didn't feel that it was inappropriate. It was a normal thing. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion was so black-hearted and had the ability. If they didn't rob them, who would? The most important thing was to rob the Heaven Hunting ranking. Suyu realized that after his aura was locked, it would be difficult for him to change his appearance. Unless, he could eliminate the aura in the Heaven Hunting ranking. Although he was disguised as Cui Lang, it was useless. His origin aura was still Suyu. This Heaven Hunting ranking definitely surpassed the Heavenly Soldiers. It could capture his aura in the entire heavenly battlefield unless Suyu could change his origin aura. There were only two ways to hide his identity. First, he could find the Heaven Hunting list and control it himself. Second, he could change his origin aura, but he couldn't change it even when he turned into a dead spirit. Even the dead spirit couldn't discover it, but the Heaven Hunting list could still capture it. This was very helpless. In the heavenly battlefield, it was too difficult to put on an alias. Therefore, Suyu would have to deal with the Heaven Hunting Pavilion sooner or later. No matter what, his identity couldn't be exposed forever. He still had to hide it. He couldn't change it just by killing one person. Of course, there was another method. To kill his way to the first place on the heaven roll. Then, his battle record could not be improved. For example, if he had an invincible battle record now, he would be the first on the heaven roll. No matter how Suyu killed him, there would be no more movements. Of course, it was just a thought. It was extremely difficult. Suyu stayed in the small house for a short while. Soon, he turned into a dead spirit again and disappeared into the small house. He took Little Hairy Ball with him to prevent him from running away. This fellow was not here, so he did not have time to take him away. In the city, there were a few scattered dead spirits. There were not many of them. Suyu began to hunt again. This time, Suyu was much more careful because there were 3 sun and moon dead spirits in the city. They had weak intelligence. When Suyu killed the first dead spirit, a sun and moon dead spirit came, but its intelligence was limited. He glanced at Suyu and continued to wander around the city. Killing 1, 2. Gradually, the number of undead spirits in the city increased again. The aura of death also gradually became denser. In the ancient house, Qin Fong had a helpless look on his face. It was very troublesome. He was now in the ancient house in the 6th ring. The aura of death was already denser. It was slightly better a moment ago, but now it was starting to spread. Qin Fong's armor was almost unable to hold on. If this continued, the city gates would not open, and no one would come to help. It would be difficult for him to escape. Could it be Suyu again? Qin Fong secretly ridiculed. If he had known that this fellow was so ruthless and fierce, he would not have come to see the situation at all. This time, he almost lost himself. How ruthless. If it was Su Yu's doing, he would have seen through Su Yu's thoughts and trapped everyone to death. There were too many undead and the aura of death became thicker. The ancient city gates were closed. What should he do? In the end, he could only wait for the invincible experts to personally come and forcefully break through the city gate. There were more than one of them, and if a few more didn't come, he wouldn't be confident. Perhaps, in the end, it would lead to an invincible war. Troublesome. What a tough guy. No wonder this guy dares to roam the heavenly battlefield alone. I've heard of him long ago. He really lives up to his reputation. Qin Fang was a little emotional. He was really awesome. The black armored race was chasing after him. Now, all of them were dead. The Celestials had their eyes on him. Jiu Xian was dead, and Dao Cheng was this guy. Qin Fang had no confidence in dealing with him. Now, he had no choice but to make a move on his allies to improve himself. There were at least 10 heaven hunting list geniuses trapped in the city. There were definitely more than 20 other experts, or even more. They might even fall at the hands of Su Yu this time. This was the first time this guy came to the heavenly battlefield. If he really wiped out everyone, the heavens would be shaken. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1712. 1712 Chapter 386 Fish in a Jar, Monthly Pass at the beginning of the month, 4. While Qin Fang was thinking about Su Yu was also thinking about this fellow. Could he be dead? Perhaps this fellow came here with the intention of helping him. If he killed Qin Fang, it wouldn't be good. If he really killed him, the human race wouldn't be able to return. The great Qin King was the #1 expert of the human race. Qin Zhen knew Qin Zhen's son. He had seen him before and even interacted with him. He had a pretty good impression of him. He felt a little bad for killing the other party's son. It can't be that bad. An invincible descendant should at least have some capital. Su Yu thought to himself. At the very most, he would just have to provide the other party with some heaven's origin energy. As for the rest, there was nothing he could do. As for the shuttle amulet, it was impossible for him to give it to the other party. Since he had given it to the other party had escaped first. Given how famous he was, everyone knew him. Once he escaped, they couldn't help but suspect that he had escaped as well. That would be troublesome. Between his safety and Qin Fang's safety, Su Yu naturally chose his own safety. He continued to wander the streets. At this moment, there were many more undead in the inner area. At this moment, a jade talisman was thrown out. Su Yu smiled. He had been wandering around the place where people lived for this very reason. Killing without bloodshed. Su Yu quickly landed on the ground and snatched the jade talisman. Then, he took a step forward and wrote on the wooden tablet. This time, Su Yu also saw the wooden tablet that was thrown out. It was an eagle-billed beast. Soon, half a head appeared on the wooden tablet. This wooden tablet was actually a little special. Su Yu also noticed that it could only be carved with the aura of death. No wonder he did not see anyone else using his own set. It was not easy to forge it. Su Yu did not have such scruples. After writing and drawing for a while, he continued to patrol. At this moment, he was like a normal undead, killing one after another. Some people calculated that he could stay for 3 days and started to throw the jade talisman today. However, in reality, if he missed today, he would throw the jade talisman tomorrow. On the 3rd day, they thought that they could successfully convert. In reality, because they did not succeed in converting, they would be finished if they had one more day. Just as Su Yu continued to kill the experts in the city. It was already the 4th day since he entered the city. The sky turned dark. Outside the heaven-destroying city. At this moment, experts also arrived. Figures appeared around the ancient city. The city has been sealed. The sun and moon undead spirits should have appeared in the city. What did the heaven-hunting pavilion say? The experts conversed in the air one after another. Very soon. Someone spoke coldly, the city is in chaos. The ancient city has been sealed off. 3 sun and moon ancient undead spirits have appeared. The city will only open after 3 days. The heavenly river sealed off the city lord's manor. There aren't many living in the city now. They are all hiding in the inner ring of the ancient city, waiting for reinforcements. It's all Su Yu's fault. This fellow might be able to avoid the pursuit of the dead spirits and kill a large number of them in secret. Jiu Xian used Xian he Immortal King's immortal talisman and killed a large number of dead spirits. Now that Jiu Xian is dead, Xian he Immortal King definitely won't come. Then we'll wait here for 3 days. I'm worried that our clan's geniuses won't be able to hold on. Yeah. At this moment, a huge dragon appeared in the distance. It was a white dragon with 9 claws, a member of the Heavenly Dragon clan. 7th level of the Sun-Moon realm. There was nothing they could do. The Heavenly Dragon clan still had a genius expert, Long Zhan, in the city. In addition, the descendant of the Golden Dragon clan's great elder, Long Wuyo, was also there. The Dragon clan had to come to the rescue. Not long after, another extremely powerful expert arrived. 7th level Sun-Moon. The power of frost covered the heaven and earth. Someone from the celestial race came. It was the ice and snow celestial race, the celestial race wherein Mintian was. And in the next moment, a figure with an ethereal immortal aura landed. It was the celestial race. The celestial race's Dao Cheng was still here. As soon as the celestial race's person arrived, someone greeted, Fairy Ming he is here too. The disciple of the Dao King. A 7th level Sun-Moon realm powerhouse. All the powerful clans had sent their Sun-Moon realm experts. The moment Fairy Ming he arrived, she looked at the sealed city gate and frowned. Suddenly, she said in a clear voice, City Lord of the Milky Way City, Ming he of the Immortal Clan requests to see you. Please open the gate. Bing Hong of the Immortal Clan requests to see you. The Immortal Clan expert also spoke. Nada Ji of the Demon Clan requests to see you. The experts from the various races all spoke. And at this moment, the city gates were tightly shut. After a while, a faint voice rang out, everyone, please forgive me for not being able to open the city gates. The ancient spirits of the dead have appeared and the city gates are closed. This is the rule of the ancient city. And I am only a puppet. If I were to open the gates today, I'm afraid I won't be able to continue being the city lord anymore. In the air, the experts all frowned. Heavenly River City Lord, the descendants of my race's immortal kings are in the city. Sealing the gate for a few days, I'm afraid it would be too much for me to bear. Heavenly River faintly spoke, open the gate in 3 days. I think, 3 days shouldn't be too much of a problem. If everyone feels that I'm being evasive, you can just break the gate by yourself. I don't care about this. I'm going into closed-door cultivation. Everyone, please decide on your own. After saying this, he no longer spoke. Whatever you guys want to do. If you have the ability, then break down the door. Opening the door, that doesn't exist. He can open it. However, if he doesn't open it and forcefully opens it, he will also suffer some backlash. Moreover, is there a need to open the door? I didn't invite you guys into the city. Whether it's Dao Cheng or Su Yu, they all came by themselves. Could it be that I'm the one who captured them? Powerful clans are powerful, but it has nothing to do with me. If you really have the guts, then come and attack the city. Break through the city. Be careful that Invincible will die in the end and cause a riot in the other ancient cities. Outside the city. Silence fell. It was actually within their expectations that Tianhe would not open the door. However, Tianhe's refusal was so straightforward that it made these people somewhat dissatisfied. However, there was nothing they could do even if they were dissatisfied. Were they really going to forcefully break through the door? Everyone did not have such thoughts. Unless they really had no other choice, it would be best for Invincible to intervene. If the sun and moon broke through the door, it would be very easy for them to fall into it. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1713. 1713 Chapter 386 Turtle in a Jar, Monthly Pass requested at the beginning of the month, 5. Right at this moment, an expert opened his mouth and asked, "Has anyone from the human race arrived?" "Not yet. Zheng Ping from the Great Xia Mansion is nearby. It seems like he is heading this way." "Zheng Ping?" Someone sneered. "He has just entered the sun and moon, and he has such a murderous aura. I heard that he killed the golden armor of the Black Armor clan. Does he want to join in the fun or is he here to die?" As soon as he finished speaking, a saber chi pierced through heaven and earth. There was a loud bang. "You're courting death." The creature who had spoken earlier roared angrily and appeared. It was an enormous golden lion that covered heaven and earth. At this moment, Zheng Ping slowly walked out not far away. "Do you want to die?" The golden lion looked at him coldly, his eyes cold. "Zheng Ping, are you provoking me?" "Provoking?" Zheng Ping smiled. "Yes, how is it? Do you want to die? Who are you to judge the people of my Great Xia Manor? You sure have guts. Don't think that just because the Vitra lion race is one of the top 100 races. Do you want your Lion King to taste the blade of the Great Xia King?" Silence. The blood red in the golden lion's eyes gradually faded as he said coldly, "Zheng Ping, don't provoke strong enemies for your Great Xia Manor anymore. This is not what it was 20 years ago." Zheng Ping smiled and said, "Yes, there's nothing wrong with what you said. The mansion master was about to attain the Tao, and the rest of us are also tigers without claws and teeth. You guys are getting crazy now, but, no matter how powerless you are, it won't be a big problem to exterminate your Vitra clan." After saying that, Zheng Ping shouted coldly, "Do you want to die? Do you want your Vitra clan to be exterminated? You're worse than dogs. When did it become the turn for you weak clans to be arrogant with us humans?" He looked around and sneered, "And the Mystic Armor clan? Very good. Hold on tight to the Immortal clan's buttocks. Otherwise, just wait." Figures appeared in the void again. Ming He of the Immortal clan looked at him and said indifferently, "Zheng Ping, watch your words. The human immortals are the alliance. It's not something that you and I can decide. Greetings, Fairy Ming He." Zheng Ping was polite for a while and said with a smile, "I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the Mystic Armor clan. They are very bold. I think the Mystic Armor King is not going to leave the Mystic Armor world for the rest of his life. The Tianzhu King will be waiting for him." Ming He ignored him. The Celestials and the demons looked at Zheng Ping one after another. Zheng Ping was not afraid. He smiled and said, "Why are you looking at me? Kill me. If you kill me, the Great Xia Mansion will start a war now. It's fine if you want to kill me secretly, but you can try to kill me now." After saying that, he gritted his teeth and said, "I still feel that the Great Xia Mansion is not tough enough. Today, kill me, and I will use my blood to tell the Great Xia Mansion that only by fighting can there be a way out. If you muddle along, it is definitely not a way out." He was not afraid of death. He was also very dissatisfied with the current policies of the Great Xia Mansion. If you muddle along, it is definitely not a way out. If the gods and devils dared to kill him here in public and kill the head of the Great Xia Mansion's War Academy, the Great Xia Mansion would have to take out their blades no matter what. If they didn't take out their blades, the blades of the great Xia mansion would become broken blades. Kill them all. Use my blood to wake up the Xia family and the great Xia mansion and dispel those unrealistic thoughts. The gods and demons must not collude. The experts of the gods and demons did not make any movements. It was not difficult to kill Jinping now, but, killing him for no reason would mean that the gods and demons had initiated a war. There was no need to initiate a war now. Instead, it would cause the great Xia mansion to rebel. Of course, if they really started a war, killing Jinping would be understandable. However, hadn't the two sides fallen out yet? Jinping snorted lightly. He knew that the two of them would not take the initiative to kill him. As for provoking and being killed, there was nothing he could do about it. He would not do such a thing either. Looking at the closed city gates and seeing the deathly aura covering the world, Jinping sighed in his heart. It was over. Su Yu would not be able to escape. There was a high chance that these people would not dare to kill Qin Fang, but killing Su Yu was almost 100% certain. Even if he wanted to make a move, a first-level sun and moon would not change anything. Just as he was thinking, someone suddenly broke the silence and said, "A genius has died. The Heaven Hunting Pavilion has sent news that the city is overflowing with dead souls. The Blood Crocodile Race's genius, Do Hai, ranked 312th on the yellow roll, has died." Dead silence. No one said anything. Another genius had died. In fact, many geniuses had died in the past few days. It was normal for a few more to die. After a while, someone asked, "Did the undead kill him or was he killed by someone else?" "I'm not sure." The expert who spoke replied, "It could be the undead, it could be Su Yu, or it could be someone else." Heaven Hunting Pavilion said that Su Yu went to see Tianhe before, but he should have been rejected, so he didn't have the chance to leave the city. "It's good that he didn't leave the city," someone replied with a playful tone. Since that was the case, they would wait for 3 days. No, 2 days might be enough. Once the city gates opened, they would enter the city and surround and kill Su Yu. There were so many experts, and there were even a few at the 7th level of the sun and moon. Tianhe didn't care, and the sun and moon undead disappeared. Killing Su Yu shouldn't be too easy. As for the human race, how many people were willing to help the many divine languages? The great Xia Manor couldn't protect themselves, and the great Qin Manor couldn't protect Su Yu either. Could it be that they were counting on that salted fish Zhu Tiandao from the great Ming Manor? If the other race's unrivaled experts were stopped, the human race's unrivaled experts could forget about coming. At this moment, Su Yu was already like a turtle in a jar. He was doomed. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories. Chapter 1714. 1714 Chapter 387 Finding a Teacher, Asking for a Monthly One. Within the ancient city, Su Yu continued to kill the dead spirits, killing those who could not withstand the pressure and escaped from the ancient house. The other rewards were not big, but there were many ancient city tokens. He did not know what the use of these ancient city tokens was. Of course, they had some effect on the death chi and the dead spirits. A high-level ancient city token could also control some weak dead spirits, but Su Yu tried it out, the effect was average. At this moment, he had a 16-ring ancient city token in his hand. It could only expel some spirits of the Lingyun realm, but it was ineffective against Shanghai. Su Yu did not have a single ancient city token in the 16-ring realm. He did not know if a high-grade ancient city token would be more effective. 3 sun and moon spirits of the dead would appear from time to time. At this moment, they looked like they were about to go crazy. Sometimes, they could not sense the murderer of the spirits of the dead, and the aura of death filled the entire ancient city. The ancient city became even more deathly silent. Even the residents of the ancient city were nowhere to be seen. The residents of the ancient city hid in their houses. There weren't any undead looking for trouble, but once they came out, there was a high possibility that the berserk undead would attack them. In the vast ancient city, Suyu was probably the only living person outside the house. Suyu wandered around for a while, but he didn't see any other living creatures. There weren't many who chose to become residents. Obviously, these people were all waiting for the opening of the ancient city. Without the appearance of new sun and moon undead, the opening date of the ancient city wouldn't be affected. As for Suyu, it was hard for him to kill the mountain and sea undead at this moment. It wasn't that he couldn't kill them, but he had to kill the early stage of the mountain and sea realm. There was a high chance that the middle stage would appear, and only after killing the late stage would there be a chance for the sun and moon undead to appear. He still didn't have the ability to kill the late stage of the mountains and seas, so it would be difficult for him to launch a sneak attack unless he used all his strength to launch a sneak attack and devour the essence blood. However, if he did that, the commotion would be too big. He was also worried that someone might see him, like the city lord. Would he be spying on him? As for the shouting outside the city, he could actually hear it, but it wasn't very clear. The enemy was targeting the city lord of the ancient city. He couldn't hear much, but he knew that someone was coming. On the street, Suyu continued to wander. However, he was thinking about something. There should be a sun-moon realm expert here. He didn't know if Invincible would come. It would be fine if he came to the sun-moon realm, but if Invincible came, even if he disguised as an undead, it would be difficult to hide it. I can't provoke Invincible. Suyu muttered in his heart. His current disguise was partly due to the aura of death, and partly due to his divine runes and other means. Sun-moon realm warriors could not see through it, but if the sun and moon touched him, they would probably see through it. When he reached Invincible, it would be impossible to hide it. Hence, it was best not to provoke Invincible. If that happened, it would be very troublesome. Once the city is sealed for more than 3 days, it might attract Invincible, so, it's best not to kill any more Shanghai realm dead spirits, lest a sun-moon realm dead spirit appear, which would prolong the time of the city being sealed. Suyu judged the pros and cons. It was not that some things could not be done, but they could not be done. For example, the time of sealing the city. At the very least, it would give the sun and moon realm some hope. After 3 days, the doors would open, and those geniuses would most likely not die. This way, the sun and moon realm would not feel that they could not do it. Is there any way to kill even those sun and moon realm dead souls? Suyu fell into deep thought. If he did something big, he would run away. When Invincible really came, he would run away as well. If he really killed a few sun and moon martial artists, he would be the one who killed them. Then, he would be the number one on the heaven roll and would be able to obtain great benefits. After that, it would be hard for the rankings to change. Killing the sun and moon martial artists was difficult. It was very difficult. Suyu shook his head slightly. Forget it, he would not take the risk. Once he was strong, he would be able to kill them sooner or later. He would not take the risk. However, the geniuses in the city could be killed as many as they could. Not to mention, he had just killed one and was rewarded with a bit of heaven yuan qi. Although it was trash, it was still better than nothing. The heaven yuan qi in his hands had also been used up to a shocking extent. Until now, there were less than 300 portions. When he came here previously, there were still close to 500 portions. Are they all cooped up and not coming out? Suyu sighed. Seriously, each and every one of them. There were so many waves in the past. Before the city was sealed, there were so many undead, but they were all unwilling to leave. They insisted on staying behind to watch the show. Now, why were they all staying inside and not coming out? Where was Modwa? Where was Dao Cheng? Where was Mintian? Where was Tian Duo? Why were all these top-notch geniuses hiding? Su Yu was making sarcastic remarks in his heart. As for before he could transform into an undead, he was also hiding. This was naturally ignored by him. That was called strategic evasion. It was different. It was a double standard. Who wouldn't know how to do that? There was no benefit in not killing people. There was no benefit in killing an undead. If there were benefits to killing an undead and there were rewards from heaven and earth, Su Yu would have done it a long time ago. In the end, other than the ancient city token, there was almost nothing good in killing an undead. This made Su Yu very helpless. Of course, the blood essence of an undead was still very precious. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to be of much use. This thing couldn't extract the heaven yuan qi. Other blood essences could, but the blood essence of an undead couldn't. There was no other way. This thing didn't even have a body forging technique, so it naturally couldn't extract the blood essence. Su Yu's extraction of heaven yuan qi was done through the body forging techniques of the various races. It was not directly extracted. However, after killing a large number of undead, his newly born death divine text had made some progress. His kill divine text had advanced to rank 4, becoming even more rounded. The breathing technique continued to train continuously, strengthening his body. If this continued, perhaps in a few days, he would be able to finish casting the 23 divine text.